Totoo yan, nung una akong inimbitahan sa PREB, kinailangan ko ring i-research kung ano nga ba ang PREB. At ganun din yung mga ibang miyembro ng aming committee. At ang aming naging kasayahan at kalungkutan ay nung na-realize namin na napakalaki pala ng papel ng PREB.
General lack of awareness about research ethics and non-compliance with research ethical guidelines may lead to risks to and abuse against human participants in research. These include injury, public embarrassment, data breach, and stigma, among others. Such problems can arise when ethical oversight is not properly applied. This was the reason why the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board, or FREB, was born. In this video, get to know who FREB is, what it does, why it is relevant, and what it has achieved so far.
I'm Dr. Jaime Montoya. I'm the Executive Director of the Philippine Council for Health Research and Development, the national coordinating body for health research in the country. The body that oversees research ethics in the country is just the National Ethics Committee. They actually make the policy, they make the guidelines, and they also implement the guidelines in the form of doing reviews or ethics reviews for proposals. We thought that it would be better to separate those two functions, the policy making and the actual review. The Philippine Council for Health Research and Development advised the Department of Science and Technology to create this body, the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board, to be the highest policy-making body for health research in the country. Is that the PREB actually formulates the guidelines that will be followed by researchers doing health and health-related projects and proposals in the country.
Okay, I am Marita Reyes. I used to chair the National Ethics Committee for many years. I was the first chair of the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board when I was appointed in 2006. The development of research ethics committees could be traced to the 1975 version of the Declaration of Helsinki, and that was followed by a WHO announcement that there should really be research ethics committees established in order to review researches involving human participants. The PCHRD, the Philippine Council for Health Research and Development, through the leadership of Dr. Emiliano Aligi, put up what was the beginning, the concept of the Philippine National Health Research System through a memorandum of understanding between the Department of Health and the Department of Science and Technology, Philippine Council for Health Research and Development. They agreed to collaborate, share resources, and together push for ethics review for health research involving human participants. From there on, a grant from the Fogarty International Center in the U.S. to the University of the Philippines, through the leadership of Professor Leonardo de Castro, it was the first formal attempt to organize trainings in research ethics review and bioethics.
I'm Leonardo de Castro. I'm the current chair of the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board. I've been with FREB mula noong nag-umpisa ito, kahit noong National Ethics Committee pa ang meron before naging FREB. As chair, I am primarily responsible for seeing to it that the different committees perform their functions well. I also provide leadership in the formulation of national guidelines.
I'm Dr. Ricardo Manalastas Jr. I am the chair of the Committee on Information, Dissemination, Training and Advocacy. We provide training on research ethics, provide them with knowledge on the national guidelines on health research ethics to prepare them for accreditation. So when I say them, I refer to the research ethics committees of these institutions, no, either academic or healthcare provider institutions. So our committee is trying to make sure, do our part in assuring those two important basic principles in doing research. Participants are not harmed, they're protected, and that the data generated are credible data, hindi yung inimbento lang or manufacture lang, no, yung ganun. That's why I think kahit papano, our function is important.
I'm Sonia Bongala, the chair of the Committee on Standards and Accreditation of the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board. The Committee on Standards and Accreditation is in charge of accrediting all the research ethics committees in the Philippines. We monitor also their performance. It's a major function of the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board because all the research ethics committees will now be at par with each other in terms of compliance to international and national guidelines, as well as their own institutional policies.
I'm Carmen Menchi Auste. I'm a member of the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board, and I also chair the Committee on Patient, Family, and Community Engagement. So yung committee namin, it was organized para maging boses ng mga pasyente, mga pamilya, at ng ating mga pamayanan sa pagpoprotect at sa pagpromote ng karapatan nila. At ganun din naman ay para matiyak na yung ginagawang mga pananaliksik at pag-aaral ay naaayon sa mga prinsipyo na people-centered, patient, and family-focused as well.
I see REB as the focus of ethical health research in the Philippines. It has provided guidance to individual researchers. It also has provided infrastructure for the review of ethical research.
This is very important because if you look at the history of the ethical violations in human rights, transgressions of human dignity in the past that were recorded, for example, during the Nuremberg trials, then you would see that human participants can be abused, can be harmed, can be wronged by good intentions. Researchers can have good intentions in involving human participants, but it's very possible that because of their interest to advance science, they will overlook the rights, the dignity, and the welfare of the human participants. Science cannot be priority over dignity, the rights, and protection from harm of human participants.
Anything that has to do with research has to revolve around being trustworthy. The second, ensuring that research participants are safe and protected from harm. Kasi yung health ng tao ang involved eh. There is always a high level of risk involved. We see to it that any risks are justified by the outcome, what it will do for the good of all later on.
Compared to before the PREB was established and now, definitely we see a big difference. We have a lot more accredited and recognized research ethics committees that ensure that all researches or health-related researches are done in compliance with existing ethical guidelines. We have more accredited ethics review committees in the country, especially level 3. There are 3 levels, 1, 2, and 3. Level 3 being the highest level of accreditation in which they can actually do clinical trials. They have actually undergone the required training. They have the expertise to review and monitor such proposals.
We have currently 73 accredited research ethics committees. 39 of them are level 3, 24 are level 2, and 10 level 1. Despite the pandemic, we continued to do our accreditation work online. And we have an increasing number of applicants from the academy.
Nakapag-train na kami all over the Philippines Hospitals, both private and government, siguro lahat yan halos na-train na namin. Academic institutions, from colleges, state universities, umikot na rin kami sa buong Pilipinas na rin, practically. We have at least 3 training modules: basic research ethics, good research practice, standard operating procedures, and some others. We provided all of these trainings to, I would say, several thousand people already. And many of these have gone on to become members of accredited research ethics committees. Yung mga tinrain namin, nagtitrain din ng iba. So may parang multiplier effect ba? Ang daming request. May basic training kami, may mga nagre-request ng advanced training. So sa amin, parang, at least sa akin, no, nape-perceive ko yon. We are being perceived by people na capable kasi we are being requested to give more training eh. Hindi yung wala na, no? Nakaisa ka lang, hindi ka na makadalawa. So gusto nila more. Mukhang we're doing it correctly.
We were instrumental in establishing the Asia-Pacific Network of National Ethics Committees. As a friend, we have contributed to the Global Summit every 2 years. We have played a very active role, and therefore we have been able to influence what is going on at a global level. So we're not an isolated review institution within our country. We engage and are influential also at the international level. And I'm very proud of that.
I'm proud to be a part of the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board. I feel I am contributing to the improvement and the conduct of an ethical research. I am very proud. People working with PREB, very good people. I am always inspired by their commitment, by their interest, persistence, consistency, competency, the way they put their hearts into what they're doing. Very impressive. That's why, how long have I been here? I've been doing this thing for 20 years and I feel fulfilled.
Napakalaki pala ng papel ng PREB para matiyak na yung tinatawag nating mga ethical principles na papasaloob at talagang nasusunod ayon sa dapat. So, hindi lamang pulisiya sa papel, kundi ang PREB talaga ay tinitiyak niya kami ay very action-focused.
I wish that researchers really would go for ethics review not because it is mandated, because they think it's important to improve the research and to make it more relevant for the country and for society. Do not lose that feeling that they are doing something for the good of the country. If people become more ethical, then I think this country is going to progress.
For me to say, I don't have to do this. My voice is tired, so I must retire. But once that thought enters my mind, I realize that there are many other people who are stricken by spasmodic dysphonia. So I continue on, not so much for myself, but for a vulnerable sector of society. I must help to prove that even if my speech is affected, my capability to put the message across to our audience should not be stopped. It must continue. As a wish list ko, lahat our local review institutions be fully respected ay international researchers. I wish this will continue in the future sapagkat ang mga kasamahan natin na mga researchers dito sa Pilipinas ay nakikita ang kagandahan ng integridad at ethical research at patuloy na sumusuporta sa mga tinatangkilik ng Philippine Health Research and Ethics Board.
Hello. All right. A pleasant morning to everyone. It is our honor to welcome you all to the first ever UP Diliman Research Ethics Board institutional workshop. I would like to acknowledge first the presence of our UP Diliman Chancellor, Attorney Edgardo L. Vistan II, Vice Chancellor for Research and Development, Dr. Carl F. Odulio, and HRD Director, Arthur Gonzalez. Good morning, sirs, and it is our honor to have you for today's event. It is but significant to join the deans, faculty, reps, admins, and students in this viral activity to discuss the integration of the ethics review process in research at UP Diliman. We appreciate you taking time off from your busy schedules to be with us today. We hope that you will find this workshop aligned with your functions within your colleges and institutions. To formally start our program, may I invite everyone to join the singing of the Philippine National Anthem.
Bayang magiliw, teles ng sigahanan, alab ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, luyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupi, di ka pasisiit. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit ng bagaw, may nilagang tula at awit sa kaglayang minamahal. Ang iskat ng matawat mo'y tagumpay na nagbibigay. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magbibilig. Lupa ng araw ng walhati pagsinta, huwag langit sa piling mo. Sa piling mo, ang hindi kaya na pag may makabi, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Once again, welcome to the Establishing the University of the Philippines Diliman Research Ethics Board Institutional Workshop. We are live via Zoom and simultaneously broadcasting on our official Facebook page. Welcome, participants. I am JPA Soli, technical personnel of the UP Diliman Research Ethics Board, and I am your moderator for today's event. This institutional workshop aims to bring together representatives from UP Diliman colleges and institutions with the common aim of enriching the campus goals of supporting dynamic and impactful research by understanding and leveraging the importance of ethical conduct of research. In this activity, we will delve into the research ethics review process in the Philippines and its importance in the establishment of the UP Diliman Research Ethics Board. There will also be identification of relevant requirements of the colleges and institutions. In the afternoon, we will be having a workshop where you will be grouped according to your clusters. In each breakout room, you will be able to impart your department's concerns in alignment with the establishment of the UP Diliman Research Ethics Board so as to fulfill the role of research ethics committees on ensuring the safety, protecting the rights, and promoting welfare and well-being of research participants. Without further ado, to grace us all for this event, may I call on the UP Diliman Vice Chancellor for Research and Development, Dr. Carl F. Odulio, for his welcome remarks. Good morning, Doctor.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Doctor. Loud and clear po.
Hello, good morning, JP. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
I think we have a very good turnout. First of all, congratulations, Dr. De Ungrea, for this workshop. So, Chancellor Vistan, Dr. Salome N. Vios of the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board, Dr. Jacinto Blas Mantaring, the third of the UP Manila Research Ethics Board, Dr. De Ungrea, esteemed colleagues, faculty, reps, and members of the UP Diliman community. A pleasant morning to you all. A warm and heartfelt welcome to all of you as we gather here today for a momentous occasion in the academic life of the UP Diliman, the establishment of the University of the Philippines Diliman Research Ethics Board, or the UPD REB. As the Vice Chancellor for Research and Development, it is with immense pride and excitement that I stand before you to open this workshop on carrying out responsible, ethical, and meaningful research at UP Diliman through the establishment of our very own Research Ethics Board. The significance of this moment cannot be overstated. Research is the lifeblood of any academic institution, and UP Diliman has a rich tradition of scholarly excellence. Some of our researchers and their groundbreaking studies from various fields of expertise have recently made impactful national and global contributions, addressing some of the most pressing challenges facing our society. But as we strive for excellence in our pursuit of knowledge, we must always remain cognizant of the ethical dimensions that underpin our research endeavors. The creation of the UPD REB underscores our unwavering commitment to ethical research practices. As a research institution, we have the responsibility to protect the rights and welfare of human participants, particularly vulnerable populations such as indigenous peoples, minors, the elderly, pregnant women and their children, and differently abled persons. Together with the UPD REB, we are taking a significant step to ensure that our research is not only academically rigorous, but also morally and ethically sound. As we establish the UPD REB, we are sending a clear message that responsible and ethical research is not just a requirement, but an integral part of our identity as a leading academic institution. The university is committed to complying with the 2022 National Ethical Guidelines for Research involving human participants, mandated by the Republic Act 10532, as the UPD REB accomplishes its initial task of securing accreditation from the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board. Today, as we embark on this journey of creating the UPD REB, I encourage each and every one of you to actively participate in the discussions and activities that will unfold over the course of this workshop. Share your insights, ask questions, and engage in the dialogue. This workshop is just one out of many opportunities for us to collectively shape the future of research ethics at UP Diliman, to learn from one another, and to instill in ourselves and our colleagues a deep sense of responsibility to the people we engage in every research. The UPD REB is committed to serve the academic community. We recognize that the diversity of our research protocols and the broad spectrum of fields in UP Diliman entails specific requirements for each cluster in the formulation of the UPD REB. We are here to listen, and we are eager to engage in continuous dialogue with the UP community. In closing, let us remember that the research we do has the power to transform lives, drive innovation, and shape the future as we continuously strive for research of the highest standards for the service and benefit of the people in improving the conditions of the coming generations. This vision comes with a profound responsibility, a responsibility to safeguard the dignity and well-being of our research participants and to contribute positively to the betterment of our communities and the world at large. With the establishment of the UPD REB, we are taking a significant step forward in fulfilling this responsibility. Together, let us embrace this journey with enthusiasm, dedication, and a strong commitment to responsible, ethical, and meaningful research. Thank you for giving your time in this worthy endeavor, and I wish us all a productive and inspiring workshop ahead. Magandang umaga po muli. Thank you, JP.
Thank you, Dr. Odulio, for welcoming us all to this activity. It's true that the vision of the OVCRD is to profound responsibility to safeguard the dignity and well-being of our research participants and to contribute positively to the betterment of our communities and the world at large. Thank you, Dr. Odulio. At this juncture, it is my distinct pleasure and immense honor to call on our UP Diliman Chancellor, Attorney Edgardo L. Vistan II, for his keynote address. Good morning, Chancellor.
Good morning, JP. I hope you can hear me well. Is my audio coming in okay?
Yes, po.
Okay. Again, good morning to everyone. Vice Chancellor for Research and Development, Carl Odulio, Dr. Maria Corazon A. de Umbria, our resource persons for today's workshop, Dr. Maria Salome N. Dios, and Dr. Jacinto Blas V. Mantaring III. Our participants from the various clusters and the units in UP Diliman. Muli po, magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat at salamat sa pagdalo nyo sa napaka-importante at makabuluhang workshop na ito. I'm very happy to join you as Chancellor of our constituent university, UP Diliman, in this very momentous occasion as we take very important steps in the establishment of the University of the Philippines Diliman Research Ethics Board. UP Diliman, being the largest constituent unit of the UP system, has one of the most diversified program offerings with 27 degree granting units in the fields of science and engineering, social sciences, management, economics, law, education, and the arts and humanities. This diversity helps in fulfilling the role of UP to lead as a public service university and to serve as a research university by contributing to the dissemination and application of knowledge. The Office of the University Registrar of UP Diliman recorded 27,536 students in the second semester of academic year 2022 to 2023, including undergraduates and those who are pursuing graduate degrees or post-baccalaureate degrees at the masteral and doctorate level. So this year, we expect, based on the numbers of as we ended the last academic year, between at least 3,000, between 3,000 maybe to 4,000 or 5,000 students who will undertake research activities, no? So that they can graduate. So we can expect again that for the coming academic year, we will perform and engage in innovations in research and development from the creative minds of our students and the expert perspectives and ideas of our faculty, reps, and administrative staff. So this workshop, as I was emphasizing earlier, marks a significant milestone in our commitment to carrying out meaningful research of the highest ethical standards in UP Diliman. And I am honored to stand before you to share our vision for this initiative. We, of course, include in our perspective and vision our programs in Pampanga and Olongapo. We have always been at the forefront of academic excellence, driven by the pursuit of knowledge and the betterment of society. As we gather here today, we embark on a journey to further strengthen our research practices through the establishment of the UPD Research Ethics Board. This initiative is a critical component of our current administration's research agenda, which will prioritize or which already is prioritizing ethics in research across all disciplines and fields. One of these central tenets or principles of our research agenda is the move towards the ethics review of all research involving human participants conducted at UP Diliman. The importance of this was shown through the videos that were run at the beginning of this webinar. This goal emphasizes our commitment to ensuring that every research endeavor, whether large or small, is conducted in an ethically responsible manner. The establishment of the UPD Research Ethics Board will play a crucial role in making this vision a reality. With the integration of ethics review into our processes, we reaffirm our commitment to research of the highest ethical standards. This alignment ensures that ethical considerations are woven into the fabric of our research practices, ultimately elevating the quality and integrity of our research outputs. More importantly, or moreover, the UPD Research Ethics Board will be mandated not just to uphold ethical standards, but also to support and promote impactful research within the university. Impactful research or relevant research is not confined to publications alone. It includes projects that address the needs of our communities, that drive innovation, and that bring about positive change. Through its role in safeguarding the research participants, our Research Ethics Board will empower researchers to not only meet ethical obligations, but also make a meaningful difference in the current and coming generations, and perhaps even to the lives of our research subjects or participants. To finally start our workshop, I want to emphasize that responsible and ethical research is not merely a regulatory requirement. It is a reflection of our values and our commitment to upholding quality research. With the establishment of the UP Diliman Research Ethics Board and our comprehensive research agenda, we are not just advancing our institutional mission. We are, more importantly, shaping the future of research in UP Diliman as well as in the country. Together, let us continue to build the brighter future through knowledge, innovation, and responsible conduct of research. I hope that by the end of this workshop, we will share the same vision of upholding the research mandates of our university. So thank you for attending and participating. Mabuhay po kayong lahat.
Thank you so much, Chancellor Vistan, for setting the tone for today's event. Now, moreover, I would like to request a photo opportunity po with Chancellor Vistan and VC Odulio. Everyone, kindly open your cameras for our photo opportunity. All right. Okay, smile. 3, 2, 1. Isa pa po. On the second frame. 3, 2, 1. All right. Thank you everyone for participating. And thank you, Chancellor Vistan and Dr. Odulio, for your welcome remarks and keynote address. Moving on with our program, we are privileged to have been granted the opportunity to share this day with one of the notable professionals in the field of research ethics guidelines and policies. She is currently the chair of the Ethics Committee of Philippine Neurological Association. She is also a member of the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board and the Forum for Ethical Review Committees in the Asian and Western Pacific region, or FERCAP. She is also a fellow of the Philippine Neurological Association and Physiology Society of the Philippines and a diplomate in the Philippine Board of Pain Medicine. She has held various positions, some of which are as Chair of UP Manila Research Ethics Board for 2010 to 2012, Chief of the Research Implementation and Development Office of the UP College of Medicine, President of Pain Society of the Philippines, UNESCO Chair in Bioethics for 2015 to 2017, Chair of Committee on Standards and Accreditation of REB for 2016 to 2019, and Chair of the Ad Hoc Committee for the Revision and Updating of the National Ethical Guidelines in Research for 2020 to 2021. Her unwavering dedication to protect the rights and welfare of human participants involved in research makes her one of the pillars of research ethics in the country. To give us an informative discussion on the research ethics review in the Philippines, it is our honor to have Dr. Maria Salome N. Villos. Good morning, Dr. Villos.
Good morning at maraming salamat sa introduction. This week, actually, I'm having an accreditation visit of the St. Paul Iloilo Hospital, but I just couldn't say no to this invitation to present in this forum, in this workshop.
Thank you so much, Dr. Villos, for that.
And I'm really very happy that this is happening. And I just couldn't say no to my alma mater, where I spent 4 years of my pre-medicine BSO in the early 70s. So I'm very honored to have been invited to this workshop. All right, so let me share my screen. Okay. All right, so I was given the task. Yan, okay. Na pag-usapan o i-present ang research ethics review in the Philippines. No? So I entitled my presentation to Research Ethics Review, Human Protection in Research. Okay. So by way of introduction, no, let us ask ourselves, to what extent can scientists involve or use human participants in research in order to advance knowledge? No? So isa pong magandang katanungan yan sa ating komunidad na talagang malakas ang research activity. So to what extent can scientists involve human participants in research in order to advance knowledge? So let me quote a few or two insights from Dr. Leo de Castro, one of the loyal sons of UP Diliman, in his chapter on human experimentation in the book A Companion to Bioethics, 2001. He wrote, experimentation or research on human subjects is essential to scientific progress and the promotion of their well-being. However, research risks are unavoidable and the dangers can be immense. So when I get invited to talk about research ethics, I always tell my audience that there's no such thing as zero risk in research. All right. So the objectives for this morning are: be aware of the ethical issues in research involving human participants. Locate yourselves among the concerned individuals, organizations, agencies in the national policies on research ethics. Be aware of the role and responsibilities mandated in the laws and policies. Refer to these national laws and guidelines in the conduct of research involving human participants, and be aware of measures to ensure the safety of research participants. So maybe simulan po natin so that we are all on the same ground regarding definition of research. And I'm sure lahat po ay mag-agree dito sa definition na ito. So research is an activity that inquires into a particular topic or area of interest with the aim to develop or contribute to generalizable knowledge, including theories, principles, and relationships, or any accumulation of information using scientific methods, observation, inference, and analysis. So, palagay ko po ay tayo ay nag-agree na ito ay isang activity that inquires into a particular topic or area of interest. All right. So we are focused on research with human beings. So the basic sciences, for instance, they do research on animal models, tissues, tissue cultures, and so forth. But in our particular case, for FREB, for instance, we are focused on research with human beings. And what do we mean by research with human beings? It is any social science, biomedical, or epidemiologic activity that entails systematic collection or analysis of data with the intent to generate new knowledge in which human beings are exposed to manipulation, intervention, observation, or other interaction with researchers, either directly or through alteration of their environment. So in this definition, there is a direct interaction between the researcher and the participants. However, human research also involves the collection and analysis of identifiable human material or data, such as research on material or data contained in biobanks or similar repositories, such as data banks. So we are now involved with we call big data, and it's still part of research on human beings, because they are identifiable human material or data. Okay. So a very important component of research endeavor is the researcher, yung pong gumagawa yung nananaliksik. So we would like to think that a qualified scientist who undertakes responsibility for the scientific and ethical integrity of a research from conception to publication. No? Ito po yung tinatawag natin, no, as defined in our national guidelines, the researcher. So makikita natin dito na siya talaga yung responsible, no, sa scientific and integrity mula sa pag-conceive pa lang, no, pag-establish ng research framework hanggang sa dulo sa research dissemination, including publication, no, and other forms of dissemination such as presentation in a public forum. Okay. Now, ito yung bida, no, sa ating pag-uusapan ngayong maghapon, the research participant. It is the person from whom data is collected through observation, interview, manipulation, or other interactions with the researcher. Okay? So kasama din po dito yung mga data, no, na nag-gather from human participants. Okay. Now, ito pong researcher na ito, no, sumusulat na tinatawag nating protocol kung saan doon nakalagay kung ano ang kanyang plano in undertaking the research. So, this is a very important document that provides the background, rationale, and objectives of a research and describes its design, methodology, including ethical and statistical considerations. No? So the proposal is the submitted protocol for approval by the ethics committee or IRB or IERC and so forth. Okay? Ito po yung sinasubmit for review. So why is it important, no, to involve or to be aware of ethics in research? No, I agree with Chancellor Vistano in what he said earlier in his talk that it's just not a matter of regulation or a legal regulation that we're doing this, that you're establishing the UP Diliman REB. You know? And the same thing when we were discussing some years ago, regarding FREB, the mission vision, the direction. So one of the members said, bakit ba natin ginagawa ito at pinapahirapan natin ang ating mga sarili, no? So pag ganyan, pag-review and all. So there were several reasons offered, no? Like, ay kasi kailangan talaga yan ng mga journals ngayon. We cannot publish without an ethical clearance, no? This is especially true for biomedical research and other reasons. Until one of the members said, isa lang ang reason, because it is the right thing to do, right? So it is the right thing to do to include ethics in research. So when we talk about ethics, it's the moral behavior in the performance of research and use of its outcome. So it does not only involve the process of doing research until the end, but it also includes the use, the ethical use of its outcomes. And ethics in research is the framework, It's a framework applying broad ethical principles to the responsible conduct of research and the use of any outcome resulting from research. Of course, there are other, ethical ways, to bring about this ethics in research, like virtue ethics and so forth, but we generally, because it's easy to apply, so we consider the ethical principles of research. Okay. All right. So these are the ethical issues in research, and in whatever type of research, whether it's economic research, social research, biomedical research, epidemiologic, these are the four ethical principles that can be applied in research. Number one is the accurate assessment of benefits and risks and harms. No, so when we do research, we ensure that it's something that has social good, no, and that it is relevant to the needs of the community or individuals that we are serving. No? So this assessment of benefits, risks, and harms is an application of the ethical principle of beneficence and non-maleficence. No? We want to do good and avoid harm. Okay. And then there is the question of respect for persons or autonomy used as subjects. And this we apply in research ethics as the principle of autonomy. And the practical application of this would be getting the informed consent from our participants. Okay. And then, of course, the ethical principle of justice in relation to the distribution of burdens, use of benefits, and other research-related activities. So this is the principle of justice. And in our research ethics, we look into, for instance, the recruitment, no, of our participants. Is there equitable distribution of the burdens, no, of benefits? Ito lang bang group na ito ang i-recruit kasi madaling ma-recruit, no? And then also issue on, for example, compensation and giving the proper attention, no, when there are adverse events that have ensued in the process of research. Okay. So why should we be concerned with ethics in research? Because it is the right thing to do, and because we have a history of that knowledge that participants have been harmed in the past. No, even with good intentions, participants have been harmed. And this is just a sample of some of the research in the past. Well, I do not know if we can call it research, no, because in fact there was no research protocol yet at the time. You know, they just, for example, Jenner in 1796 just injected the serum, no, of an infected cow with cowpox to a boy who developed some skin eruptions, thinking that it was also a cowpox, but in fact it was smallpox. And surprisingly, the boy got cured, and the rest is history. No, so they were given, that community serum from these cowpox. All right, without any informed consent, without any, well, at the time didn't have any basic research. And then we have Sims in 1876, OB gynecology, who did experimental surgery among Black women without anesthesia. Can you imagine that? Gynecologic operations without anesthesia in Black women. So, of course, the very famous Nazi experiments on human endurance in the war. And the more recent research that really have harmed participants is the famous Tuskegee clinical syphilis study. In fact, as we all know, President Clinton apologized to the Black community because at the time when this study was going on, they already knew that penicillin could cure syphilis. But then the researchers wanted to study the natural course of syphilis so that penicillin was withheld from these participants. No? And then the Willowbrook hepatitis experiments injecting a live hepatitis virus on children in an orphanage. No? And in social research, we have the Tea Room Trade by Humphrey in 1970 on homosexuals, and the simulated prison research by Zimbardo in 1973, Stanford, wherein they recruited students to act either as prison guards or as prisoners. And within the next 3 days, they discovered that those who acted as prison guards really, inflicted harm on the students who played the role of prisoners. Okay. And one of the more recent ones would be the MMR and autism, by Dr. Wakefield, who is a doctor in the United Kingdom. He published several articles in very prestigious journals saying that MMR is the cause of autism. And when there was an investigation, it was found out that most, his data were fabricated. And so all his work, publications were retracted, and he was dropped off or dismissed from the Royal Academy of Physicians in UK. And in our background, in our backyard, the dengue bruhaha vaccine, and it's unfortunate that we don't have this dengue vaccine in our country. So other countries are enjoying now the dengue vaccine because of the confusion regarding this dengue vaccine. And so the academic institutions are really not exempt from such things as dishonesty, and misconduct in research. And then we have the Dr. Smart and Dr. Yoshitaka Fuji, who did or published a lot of research only to find out that they have been fabricated, some are falsified. Okay. And there are also disputes over funding, stealing of credits, frauds, and publication. And as a result of which, not only the participants were harmed, but the public have also been harmed. So there's loss of science credibility. So in an attempt or efforts at promoting ethics in research, there have been guidelines, established to at least hopefully prevent research misconduct. Okay, so one of the earliest guidelines is what we call the Maimonides in the 12th century. In this, they really completely did not use advice against the use of human subjects in experimentation. And then we have down the line. The first code that mandated the use or getting the informed consent is the Nuremberg Code in 1947. And this Nuremberg Code is a result of the Nazi doctor trial, the Nuremberg trial, so that lawyers and judges from Europe and other countries got together to craft the Nuremberg Code. And in the Nuremberg Code, one of the very significant mandate there is to get informed consent. Okay. And then later on, we have the UN Declaration of Human Rights, and then the Belmont Report. The Belmont Report is a significant guideline because this is where the ethical principles actually was framed, the beneficence, non-maleficence, justice, and autonomy, the Belmont Report. All right. So we have guidelines, and we can view guidelines into various levels, at least three. We have the international, which these are the guidelines that we are currently using. We have the Declaration of Helsinki, the latest version is 2013. We have the WHO 2011, the CIOMS, the latest version is 2016. And we have the 2017 UNESCO Conduct of Code of Conduct for Social Science Research. And we have the ICH, the Good Clinical Practice. The original version was in 1996 and the latest version in 2016, 2017. The GCP is a very important guideline for clinical trials, that are being done globally, so that even if the clinical trial of a drug or a medical device is being done in, let's say, Africa or in the Philippines or in developing countries, the data, the process, the documentation would be the same everywhere, even in America and in Europe. So they're very strict regarding the implementation of GCP in clinical trials. All right. And then we have at the national level, the National Ethical Guidelines, and the newest version is the 2022 National Ethical Guidelines for Research Involving Human Participants. And of course, at the institutional level, like for instance, UP Diliman, as an academic institution, I'm sure you have guidelines regarding code of conduct in research, policies in doing research in the university, and professional organizations as well have this institutional policies and guidelines. All right. So this is a history of the national guidelines in the Philippines. So national guidelines is not a very recent thing. In fact, it started in 1984. And even before 1984, the College of Medicine, UP College of Medicine, already had a research ethics review committee and its own research policies and research ethics policies. So the National Ethical Guidelines, the first, was actually written by the National Ethics Committee, which was established by DOST PCHRD in 1984. And they were the National Ethics Committee was mandated to craft the first national ethical guidelines, right? So we have the National Ethical Guidelines for Biomedical Research, and then we have here National Ethical Guidelines in 1986 and Behavioral Research, and then in 2000 they retained the same title, Biomedical and Behavioral Research. Somehow in 2005, PCHRD again developed this guideline through the PNHRS ad hoc committee. Now, at this point, there is yet no PNHRS, or we didn't have yet that time the Philippine National Health Research Law. But this was the start, the budding of the PNHRS, all right, the Philippine National Health Research System. And then we have the 2006, 2011, 2017. You can change. You see the changing in the title, and probably focus of research in the country. And then now we have the National Ethical Guidelines for Research Involving Human Participants. So the current guidelines is more encompassing and welcoming of other types of research other than health research. All right. So this is our National Ethical Guidelines, and we are happy to announce that this has been published in the National Gazette. So PCHRD can now print copies of this guideline. All right. Now, this is just a brief description of the 2022 National Ethical Guidelines. We have three major called sections, no? The general guidelines, that contains the elements of research ethics, the basic elements of research ethics, informed consent, the REC, the functions of the REC, and so forth. And then ensuring quality research section. This contains more detailed information regarding elements of research. And then we have the other considerations. And the next big section are the special guidelines. So in the past, we have these special guidelines, and it contains specific research areas of topics, specific methods such as, for example, epidemiologic research, and then specific populations, research on the elderly, research on children and minor, so forth. And then the discipline-based research, and then stem cell research, genetic research. And then we have the international collaborations and chapter on authorship. And we have several appendices wherein we incorporated some of the memorandum of agreement, templates for ICF, and templates for protocol and ICF reviews and others. So these are the new chapters and sections, and I will just mention the highlights. Under the section or chapter on elements of research, we elaborated more on the adherence to the applicable provisions of the Data Privacy Act of 2012 in relation to research. Okay? Kasi yun pong 2017, nakalagay lang doon na dapat in accordance with the Data Privacy Act. Because at that time, bago-bago pa lang itong ating Data Privacy Act, no? So now there are several publications of the Commission regarding research. And then the data, information on informed consent is more robust, And then the chapter on ensuring quality research, we have included guidance on community engagement and gender inclusivity in research, which I think is a very good additions to the quality of research, especially the community engagement. We learned so much from the past pandemic, how interventions, and whatever interventions that we introduce to the population, a very important aspect is the community engagement, how researchers and health professionals, social scientists can be involved in ensuring the implementation of health policies in the country. All right. So these are the new chapters and sections that have been added in the 2022. We added the social research. We invited social scientists from different universities to craft this guideline. So they are general guidelines. And then we have case report, included case report, the internet research, because we see that there is a blooming, increasing number of internet research, and then research involving uniformed personnel, our military, police, and armed forces, the firemen. So we included that. And then research on emerging technologies. In the past, we included nanotechnology and bio, what do you call this? I forgot now, And then we included in the new guideline AI, artificial intelligence and virtual reality research, because there's also an increasing number research in the recent past on virtual reality and AI. And then research during disasters, calamities, epidemics, or complex emergencies, ethical guidelines on health policy and systems research, and ethical guidelines on research and outcomes research used in health economics. So these are the new chapters in the guideline. So regarding the Data Privacy Act of 2012, I think the highlight there, which I would just like to emphasize, is that the institutional DPO, and I know that UP Diliman has one, who is very active. In fact, she was very active in giving comments, when we subjected the 2022 guidelines to public scrutiny. So she made very good, important suggestions. And what I would like to highlight is that the institutional DPO shall provide the detailed policy and guidelines in how the protocol and conduct of research can comply with the DPA, or Data Privacy Act. All right. We also, in a way, made in the 2022 a clearer description of the institutional responsibility in research. So this would be the responsibility of the institution, academic institution or hospital institution that host or house the REC. So there's clarification of the responsibilities of the research institution in accordance with the doctrine of diligence of a good parent based on the Civil Code article, to ensure the safety of research participants and the integrity of data. So this involves the requirement for ethical review, and you're doing it. I mean, you've started to establish, you've already or have already established your UP Diliman REB. Monitoring of ethical implementation and provision for administrative support. This we require institutions to submit to FREB as part of the documents for review. Okay, that the institution supports the day-to-day activity, and that it contains the mandate that all research protocols be submitted to the REC for review. And then the legal responsibility of the institution, faculty, students, staff, for injuries that may be incurred as a result of the research, including provision for insurance if there is any. Okay, and then the mechanisms to ensure integrity of data. And so all these guidelines, our national guidelines, came about as a result of these DOST special orders. So as I had mentioned earlier, the first DOST PCHRD order was the AO84 that established the creation of the National Ethics Committee. And presently, there is still the National Ethics Committee, but they are now more involved in the review of protocols that are funded by DOST and by PCHRD. The crafting and monitoring of Research Ethics Committee has been delegated to FREB, Philippine Health Research Ethics Board. Now, so how many years that? From 1984 to 2006, through a DOST special order, established FREB as the national policy-making body on health research ethics. And I will present the mandate of FREB in a little while. And then imagine 6 years, from 2006, DOST, Department of Health, the CHED, and UP Manila, NIH joined through a joint memorandum and the subject of which is the requirement for ethical review of health research involving human participants. So at that time, there's already that requirement to subject research protocols to ethics review. Okay, so as a result of that DOST and the joint memorandum is the framework for the national structure for human protection, no, in health research ethics. So we have here in the middle the research participants that are should be protected, no, their safety and well-being during the implementation, crafting, implementation, and even after the end of the study and even publication. So immediately around the research participant, we have the three agencies, no, that are supposed to be directly involved in the protection of research participants. So we have, of course, the researcher. So even at the time of writing the research paper, they should also be thinking about protection of the research participants as well as credibility of data. And then the sponsor and the funding agencies should make sure, no, that the research protocols that they are going to fund is scientifically and ethically sound. And of course, the direct agency, no, to protect, no, the research participants through review of protocol is the REC. All right. Then around this inner circle are the three pillars, no, of human protection in the country. We have the regulatory agencies, you know, and for clinical trials and health products, we have the DO8 through the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. And then, of course, we have the FREB, the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board, that monitors the REC, and of course, your institution, no? The research institution, like UP Diliman. So in here, we can see the progress, no, from DOST Special Order 091, the creation of the FREB as the national policy-making body on health research, and the final, enactment of RA 10532, the Philippine National Health Research System Act of 2013. So it took a while, no, 7 years of lobbying, and I must recognize, no, the work of Dr. Jimmy Montoya, who really worked very hard, you know, one of the pillars, you know, of research ethics, the enactment, you know, the crafting of the RA 10532, and finally, this was signed into law by then President Benigno Aquino. So what is the PNHRS law? It is called the Philippine National Health Research System Act of 2013, and the objectives are the primary objective is to improve the health status, productivity, and the quality of life of Filipinos by 1, ensuring that health research is linked to the health system need, ensuring that investments in health research yield the most benefit, and promoting good governance and among health research organizations through efficient, effective, transparent, and ethical health management system, engaging in national and international partnership and networks for health research development, and ensuring sustainability of resources for health research. So this is the governing council of the PNHRS, based on rule number 22 of the IRR of the PNHRS, implementing rules and regulation. DOST, DOH, CHED, UP Manila, the National Nutrition Council, and 5 representatives from the private sector with a PCHRD executive director as the overall chair of the governing council. And this is the national governance structure for ethics review based on the PNHRS IRR. No? So we have the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board. And under this Philippine Health Research Ethics Board, we have the National Ethics Committee, which was created way before the FREB, but still existing. And then we have the more recent addition of the Single Joint Review Ethics Board that reviews multi-center protocols, no, of DOH hospitals. All right, so when you say multi-center, this will involve 3 or more sites, research sites, okay? And then we have the Regional Ethics Monitoring Board, okay? And this is actually a mirror image of the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board at the national level, but this is at the regional level. And then under the Regional Ethics Monitoring Board, so more or less they have the same functions as the FREB in the region. We have the regional RECs, then we have the cluster RECs, and we have the institutional RECs, no? Academic institutions, hospital-based RECs are institutional RECs. So what is FREB? No? So as I mentioned earlier, it's created under the DOST initially and later on was incorporated in the PNHRS law. So this is the mandate of FREB. Number 1 is to formulate and update guidelines, no? And also including the establishment and management and monitoring of research ethics in the Philippines, and standardization of research ethics review, at least the process, no, of research ethics. Because with regard, for example, to the content, no, it is the review elements would be protocol specific. Okay. The mandate of FREB also includes the it advises the PNHRS Governing Council regarding programs and policies on research ethics, initiate and contribute to public consultation, and FREB was very active during the recent pandemic, providing guidance, ethical guidance regarding the conduct of clinical trials in the Philippines for COVID vaccines and drugs and other related research on COVID, and network with local, national, and international organizations. No? So we are very active also in the ASEAN region. So this summarizes the FREB responsibilities. No? It is the national policymaking body on health research ethics, and it establishes and manages REC. So it's responsible for the registration, now accreditation of REC, and it monitors the performance of the REC. This is through the Committee on Standard and Accreditation. FREB also has a committee called the Committee of Information Dissemination, Training, and Advocacy. They are responsible for conducting training, no? Providing the training needs of RECs and other stakeholders. And FREB also has established and it monitors national database of all types of research called the Philippine Health Research Portal. And FREB provides advice, no, to FDA regarding ethical issues in human research. Okay, so these are the regulatory agencies included in the PNHRS IRR. We have the FREB, we have the DOH, we have the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples, or NCIP. The National Commission for Culture and Arts is also included, the National Museum, the DSW, the Commission on Human Rights, the Department of Agriculture, and the National Defense, and of course, the research institution like UP Diliman. So there is a memorandum of agreement of understanding created on March 18, 2019 with FREB, NCIP, NCCA, and the National Museum. So the NCIP is the primary government agency that formulates and implements policies, plans, and programs for the recognition, promotion, and protection of the rights and well-being of indigenous cultural communities and indigenous peoples, such that if you are doing research on our IPs and cultural communities, you need to secure permission from the NCIP together in parallel with your institutional IRB, no? The UP Diliman REB. Then we have the National Commission on Arts, Culture and Arts. It is the overall policy-making body, coordinating and grants-giving agency for the preservation, development, and promotion of the Philippine arts and culture. They do not do research ethics review. They delegate the review to the local IRBs, but when you ask or request for funding, if you have a research, then they will they will look at the ethical clearance of your IRB, and then they will consider funding, if relevant to their program. Then we have the National Museum that leads in the study and preservation of the nation's rich artistic, historical, and cultural heritage through dissemination of scientific and technical knowledge in a more understandable and practical forms. They conduct basic research programs combining integrated laboratory and field work in anthropology, archaeology, botany, geology, and zoology. So that if you have a research protocol that will involve the National Museum, then again, you need to have a certificate of clearance, from the National Museum. And of course, the FREB as the national policy-making body. So these agencies work together, and FREB tries to help them with capacity building regarding research ethics. So what are research ethics committees? Okay, it's a committee which undertakes the ethical review of proposed studies and monitors research involving humans, applying agreed ethical principles. And it is a very important component of human protection system. Research ethics must be independent of political, institutional, professional, and market influences in its composition, procedures, and decision-making. Now, when we ask for RECs to have a letter or a memorandum from their administration regarding the mandate of their REC and support of the day-to-day activities, it should be stated that the REC is an independent body in their institution. Now, the role of ethics committee, as stated in the national guidelines, that it safeguards the dignity, rights, safety, and well-being of all actual or potential research participants and their communities, taking into account the interests, needs of the researchers, and having due regard for the requirements of relevant regulatory agencies and applicable laws. So these are the accreditation standards. So when we do accreditation, we measure the quality, efficiency of the REC based on the 6 standards. The functionality of the structure and membership, they should adhere to the minimum number of membership and to the required quorum. And the required quorum is that there should be a scientific or a medical, depending upon the type of REC, scientist, there should be at least one non-scientist who serves as the lay member, and at least one non-affiliated member from another institution, no, to ensure independence. And then number two, adequacy of the standard operating procedures, no, should be complete, comprehensive, and properly implemented. Then standard three is completeness of the review process. And then the work of the REC does not stop at reviewing and providing the ethical clearance, but it continues on to monitor the implementation of the research, no? So we also include there the adequacy of the after review process. And then efficient and systematic recording and archiving system of the REC. And number six is the adequacy of administrative support for REC activities. We know of, I think at least 2 RECs na hindi magkasundo yung chair, no, and then the administration, so that the administration withdrew the support, no, and as a result, talagang nag-deteriorate yung quality, and we had to remove that REC from the roster. But now they have recovered. A new administration came in with a new REC. So the administrative support is also very important. So when we do accreditation system, no, it actually depends on the type of level, REC level that the REC would like to apply, no? So, or based on the criteria, okay, there are 3 levels of accreditation. No? Level 1, so in level 1, they can review research with minimal risk or low degree of harm. Usually, these are new RECs who have probably just started the last 2 or 3 years, no? And so they apply for level 1. Level 2 RECs, they can review, conduct all types of research except clinical trials for FDA registration. And the research risk involved here is that they can review and conduct research with more than minimal risk. Okay. And then it also includes post-marketing studies if there is an attached, for example, health facility that can do clinical trial phase 4. Okay. And then for level 3, they can review all types of research, including clinical trials or studies required for FDA registration of food, drugs, and devices. So they can review academic research, all types, and including clinical trials. But the important thing here is that the level 3 accredited REC shall comply with the ICH or GCP or good clinical practice standards. No? So probably for UPD, you can apply for level 1 at a start or level 2, later on or after a year. Okay. So this just shows, we have at the moment 77 as of July 2023, of REC in the various regions of the country. Okay. So what is the accreditation system? There are phases of accreditation. First, the application submission through the REB portal. And then a committee is assigned, who does the documentary assessment of all documents required for accreditation. For level 3, there is an added activity, which is the site visit. Nowadays, we do this online. Before, we had to go to the various regions to do face-to-face on-site visits. So for levels 1 and 2, we do review the documents that you submit for accreditation. And then after the assessment, we require the REC to come up with an action plan if there are recommendations from the accreditors to further improve the operations, the substantive and the process of the review. And then if appropriate, the FREB grants the accreditation. Okay, so how can we address research participant safety in when we do research? Okay, so this now pertains to how REC work. What are the activities involved to ensure safety of participants? One, by reviewing protocol issues. When you submit your protocol, the REC reviews the protocol and reviews the issues, ethical issues and scientific issues. Review the ethical issues. So in the first protocol issues, we look into the scientific soundness of your protocol. And then lastly, the review of the ICF and the process of getting the informed consent if there's a need for the ICF. Okay, so this figure summarizes actually the important activities or events of the investigator researcher on top. And then these are the processes or activities of the REC. Okay, so there's initial submission. In other words, the protocol cannot be implemented without the ethical clearance of the REC. So we have the initial submission, and then there is preliminary evaluation, whether your protocol can be exempted from the regular review, or if it needs to undergo the regular review, either expedited or full board review. Okay, so after that, it is given to the appropriate reviewers for the initial review. And most often, the protocols are not approved right away, but there may be requirements for revisions in the protocol and ICF. So the investigator resubmits and then reviews again by the board and then the approval. And then that's the only time the researcher can start the implementation of the protocol. And while the researcher is implementing the research protocol, he or she is required to submit post-approval reports, progress report, depending upon the risk involved, the frequency. If it is minimal risk, then a 1-year progress report submission is sufficient. If it's more than minimal risk, then maybe a twice-a-year progress report is needed. Reports on amendments. So amendments are changes in the protocol and ICF after approval. And any amendment should be reviewed and approved by the REC and all the other post-approval reports. And then ethical clearance of research is only given for 1-year duration, so that at least 6 weeks before the expiry of the ethical clearance, the researcher will have to apply for a continuing review application. And then the REC will review the application, and if the researcher complies with the requirements, then the REC gives a renewal of the ethical clearance, and then the steps again start until the study ends or is terminated. And then a final report is submitted by the researcher. The REC reviews the final report, and if acceptable, it approves or accepts the final report. And then the protocol document, the entire protocol document is archived. Okay. And there's a minimum requirement of 3 years for archiving of documents in the REC, but it again depends on the institution. Okay. So in the screening, I said not all protocols should go through the regular review, expedited or full board. Some protocols can be exempted, no? So it depends on the risk of the involved in the protocol. So for negligible risk, sabi nga natin, wala pong zero risk, no? So negligible. Maybe a survey, the topic is not sensitive, and there is anonymity and so forth, no? Maybe exempted and can be just screened, no? At the level of the chair of the member secretary or designated person. If the risk is minimal, then it can be reviewed as an expedited, wherein 2 reviewers will suffice, all right? And full board if it is more than minimal risk, okay? And the assessment, whether what type of review the protocol should undergo, also depends on the effect, no, of this risk. If it's just inconvenience, answering a survey for maybe an hour, maybe, inconvenient, and in a room without an aircon, mainit, no, inconvenience lang naman, the topic is not sensitive, okay? For minimal risk, there is discomfort, like, if there is blood extraction, or if the interview, for example, will really need some more time, difficult questions, then it could be, and then the topic is sensitive, okay, then it can be expedited, no? But if the effect on the participant is more, no, there is actual physical, no, or psychological or emotional harm, then it's more than minimal risk, and it goes to full board review. All right. So how do we address participant safety?
Yes, sir.
So we review.
Yung mga secretary.
Okay, so we review the protocol and the
Bigat talaga.
to look into
Ma'am Sally, na-mute po kayo.
Okay. Bakit kaya? All right. So how do we address participant safety, in the review of protocol development and ethics review? So the REC reviews the scientific soundness. If the protocol is not scientifically sound, then definitely it's not ethically sound. It's not ethical, right? Why subject the participant to an unscientific process, inflicting harm on them if the method, is not sound. And then the review of the PI or research qualifications and conflict of interest. And because it's an academic institution, then the research advisor's qualification should also be reviewed, okay? Review of modes intervention, if it is, for example, a behavioral intervention, then there should be a further scrutiny of this type of intervention. And then assess benefits to the participants, the science, and to science and to society. Analyze and minimize the risks, identify any physical, mental, or social risks, and provide mechanisms to minimize or mitigate the risk. Of course, by securing the informed consent is a way of addressing the patient's participant, and then requirement for continuing review, such as submission of progress reports, amendment reports, and submission of the final report, will all contribute to assessing the participant's safety in research. All right. So, in summary, Okay. The national laws and guidelines on research ethics require close collaboration among agencies, individuals in the national structural framework for research ethics, ethics review of researchers involving human participants, establishment of research ethics committee institutions that conduct research, accreditation of research ethics committees by FREB that ensures the compliance with a set of criteria. Researchers that involve human participants must undergo training in basic research ethics, continuing education in research ethics, including GCP when applicable. So we always advocate to institutions, that to include research ethics in the module of their research method module, all right? And then also, research ethics guidelines require that researchers, members of REC, and research staff must be familiar with laws and policies that impact research involving human participants to ensure the safety of research participants and credibility of the scientific data, and ensure participant safety through monitoring from protocol development to ethics review to implementation of research and submission and review of the final report. Let me end with a famous quote from Albert Einstein. Most people say that it is the intellect which makes a great scientist. They are wrong. It is character. So these are my references. And thank you for your kind attention.
All right. Hello. Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Vios, for that very informative discussion, and for taking the time from your busy schedule to join our event today. We are deeply grateful for that, Doc. To highlight Dr. Vios' presentation, the role of ethics committees is to ensure participant safety through monitoring from protocol development, ethics review, implementation of research, and submission and review of the final report. Thank you, Dr. Vios. To our Facebook Live participants, we apologize for the technical difficulties we had, but we are now back live. Further, we'll furnish you with a recording of the morning part of the program on our official Facebook page. All right, everyone, kindly key in your questions regarding Dr. Via's presentation in the Q&A section. Questions will be addressed in the open forum session later. At this point, we will be having a 15-minute break. We will resume the program at exactly 10:15 a.m. So please be back by that time. Thank you.
Totoo yan, nung una akong inimbitahan sa PREB, kinailangan ko ring i-research kung ano nga ba ang PREB. At ganun din yung mga ibang miyembro ng aming committee. At ang aming naging kasayahan at kalungkutan ay nung na-realize namin na napakalaki pala ng papel ng PREB.
General lack of awareness about research ethics and non-compliance with research ethical guidelines may lead to risks to and abuse against human participants in research. The Board, or FREB, was born. In this video, get to know who FREB is, what it does, why it is relevant, and what it has achieved so far.
I'm Dr. Jaime Montoya. I'm the Executive Director of the Philippine Council for Health Research and Development, the national coordinating body for health research in the country. The body that oversees research ethics in the country is just the National Ethics Committee. They actually make the policy, they make the guidelines, and they also implement the guidelines in the form of doing reviews or ethics reviews for proposals. We thought that it would be better to separate those two functions, the policy making and the actual review. The Philippine Council for Health Research and Development advised the Department of Science and Technology to create this body, the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board, to be the highest policy-making body for health research in the country. Is that the PREB actually formulates the guidelines that will be followed by researchers doing health and health-related projects and proposals in the country.
Okay, I am Marita Reyes. I used to chair the National Ethics Committee for many years. I was the first chair of the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board when I was appointed in 2006. The development of Research Ethics Committee would be traced to the 1975 version of the Declaration of Helsinki, and that was followed by a WHO announcement that there should really be research ethics committees established in order to review researches involving human participants. The PCHRD, the Philippine Council for Health Research and Development, through the leadership of Dr. Emiliano Aligi, put up what was the beginning, the concept of the Philippine National Health Research System through a memorandum of understanding between the Department of Health and the Department of Science and Technology, Philippine Council for Health Research and Development. They agreed to collaborate, share resources, and together push for ethics review for health research involving human participants. From there on, a grant from the Fogarty International Center in the U.S. to the University of the Philippines through the leadership of Professor Leonardo de Castro. It was the first formal attempt to organize trainings in research ethics review and bioethics.
I'm Leonardo de Castro. I'm the current chair of the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board. I've been with PREB mula noong nag-umpisa ito kahit noong National Ethics Committee ang meron before naging PREB. As chair, I am primarily responsible for seeing to it that the different committees perform their functions well. I also provide leadership in the formulation of national guidelines.
I'm Dr. Ricardo Manalastas Jr. I am the chair of the Committee on Information, Dissemination, Training and Advocacy. We provide training on research ethics, provide them with knowledge on the national guidelines on health research ethics to prepare them for accreditation. So when I say them, I refer to the research ethics committees of these institutions, either academic or healthcare provider institutions. So our committee is trying to make sure, do our part in assuring those two important basic principles in doing research. Participants are not harmed, they're protected, and that the data generated are credible data, hindi yung inimbento lang or manufacture lang, yung ganun. That's why I think kahit papano, our function is important.
I'm Sonia Bongala, the chair of the Committee on Standards and Accreditation of the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board. The Committee on Standards and Accreditation is in charge of accrediting all the research ethics committees in the Philippines. We monitor also their performance. It's a major function of the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board because all the research ethics committees will now be at par with each other in terms of compliance to international and national guidelines, as well as their own institutional policies.
I'm Carmen Menchi Auste. I'm a member of the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board, and I also chair the Committee on Patient, Family, and Community Engagement. So yung committee namin, it was organized para maging boses ng mga pasyente, mga pamilya at ng ating mga pamayanan sa pagpoprotect at sa pag-promote ng karapatan nila, at ganun din naman ay para matiyak na yung ginagawang mga pananaliksik at pag-aaral ay naaayon sa mga prinsipyo na people-centered, patient, and family-focused as well.
I see REB as the focus of ethical health research in the Philippines. It has provided guidance to individual researchers. It also has provided infrastructure for the review of ethical research.
This is very important because if you look at the history of the ethical violations in human rights, transgressions of human dignity in the past that were recorded, for example, during the Nuremberg trials, then you would see that human participants can be abused, can be harmed, can be wronged by good intentions. Researchers can have good intentions in involving human participants, but it's very possible that because of their interest to advance science, they will overlook the rights, the dignity, and the welfare of the human participants. Science cannot be priority over dignity, the rights, and protection from harm of human participants.
Anything that has to do with research has to revolve around being trustworthy. The second, ensuring that research participants are safe and protected from harm. Kasi yung health ng tao ang involved. There is always a high level of risk involved. We see to it that any risks are justified by the outcome, what it will do for the good of all later on.
Compared to before the PREB was established and now, definitely we see a big difference. We have a lot more accredited and recognized research ethics committees that ensure that all researches or health-related researches are done in compliance with existing ethical guidelines. We have more accredited ethics review committees in the country, especially level 3. So there are 3 levels, 1, 2, and 3. Level 3 being the highest level of accreditation in which they can actually do clinical trials. They have actually undergone the required training. They have the expertise to review and monitor such proposals.
We have currently 73 accredited research ethics committees. 39 of them are level 3, 24 are level 2, and 10 level 1. Despite the pandemic, we continued to do our accreditation work online. And we have an increasing number of applicants from the academy.
Nakapag-train na kami all over the Philippines. Hospitals, both private and government, siguro lahat yan na halos na-train na namin. Academic institutions, from colleges, state universities, umikot na rin kami sa buong Pilipinas na rin, practically. We have at least 3 training modules: basic research ethics, good research practice, standard operating procedures, and some others. We provided all of these trainings to, I would say, several thousand people already. And many of these have gone on to become members of accredited research ethics committees. Yung mga tinrain namin, nagtitrain din ng iba. So may parang multiplier effect ba? Ang daming request. May basic training kami, may mga nagre-request ng advanced training. So sa amin, parang, at least sa akin, no, nape-perceive ko yon. We are being seen, perceived by people na capable kasi we are being requested to give more training eh. Hindi yung wala na, no? Nakaisa ka lang, hindi ka na makadalawa. So gusto nila more. Mukhang we're doing it correctly.
We were instrumental in establishing the Asia Pacific Network of National Ethics Committees. As a friend, we have contributed to the global summit every 2 years. We have played a very active role, and therefore we have been able to influence what is going on at a global level. So we're not an isolated review institution within our country. We engage and are influential also at the international level. And I'm very proud of that.
I'm proud to be a part of the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board. I feel I am contributing to the improvement and the conduct of an ethical research. I am very proud. People working with PREB, very good people. I am always
All right. Welcome back, everyone. To our Zoom participants, kindly key in your questions in the Q&A section. While for our Facebook Live participants, comment down your questions to be acknowledged. Questions will be addressed in the open forum session later. At this juncture, allow me to introduce our next speaker. He is a professor of clinical epidemiology and the chair of the Department of Clinical Epidemiology of the UP College of Medicine. He is also a clinical professor of pediatrics, a practicing neonatologist, and an attending physician of the Philippine General Hospital. He has a Master of Science degree in epidemiology from the University of the Philippines, Manila. He is the appointed chair of the University of the Philippines Manila Research Ethics Board and the chair of the Philippine Health Research Ethics Network and the chair of the DOH Single Joint Research Ethics Board. His great leadership and contributions to pioneering research ethics in UP make him a beacon of excellence for all UPCUs to aspire to emulate. To give us an informative discussion on the challenges in research ethics review, the UPM REB story, it is an honor to introduce to you Dr. Jacinto Blas V. Mantaring III. Good morning, Dr. Mantaring.
Good morning, everyone. May I share my screen? Okay, I just want to verify if you can see my screen already. Hindi pa.
Yes, Doc.
Yung slides ko, nakikita niyo?
Yes po.
Or, teka muna. Parang hindi. So, just aware. Yan. Okay, better. Sige. Okay, so good morning, everyone. And thank you to Chancellor Bistan, Vice Chancellor Adulia, the Chair, Ma'am Cora, for the invitation. And I'd like to congratulate the UP Diliman Research Ethics Board on this landmark event that will start your journey into health research ethics. I did not realize that there was going to be a lot of overlaps between my presentation and that of Dr. Bios, but I think iba kasi yung perspective. So it's also very important for us to, for me, just to reiterate a few points. But definitely, because of Sally's presentation, I can skip a lot of parts of my original presentation. And she has actually made my job much easier. So thank you, Ma'am Sally. So these are just a few of my disclosures, but I have no interests in anything that are included in this lecture. And my task was to present the UP Manila REB story and the challenges. Actually, if I focus just on the challenges, baka maiksi lang yan, but I was advised to give a 1-hour talk. So in telling the UP Manila REB story, I perhaps have to start with the story of health research ethics all over the world, by presenting a few historical landmarks in health research ethics and the development of international ethics codes before I talk about the development of our national ethics guidelines, and before I talk about the history of the UP Manila REB. Then I'll end by talking about the UPM REB operations and, of course, the challenges. Now, some of these things have already been talked about. In fact, in the opening video, Chancellor and former chair of the FREB, Marita Reyes, mentioned that the record of the physicians with regards violations of human rights in the context of advancement of science is very well documented. So let me walk you through some of these shocking researches that have led to the development of ethics principles and eventually ethics codes. So let me start with the Nazi medical war crimes. So these Nazi medical war crimes were experiments conducted by Nazi physicians during World War II, and they were considered unprecedented in the scope and the degree of harm and suffering to which human beings were subjected. So there are a lot of stories about testing the limits of pain. There were actually, in fact, advancements in orthopedics because some of these subjects were deliberately fractured, and then that's where the German physicians made experiments on the use of intramedullary nails. I don't know if you will appreciate this, kasi if there are doctors among you in the in the audience, intramedullary nails. And in fact, I've read accounts that some of the German fighters who were shot down, German fighter plane, sa airplane, sa Air Force fighters were shot down. Nasya-shock yung kalaban kasi ang bilis nila maka-recover, and this was all because of these experiments. One particular Nazi physician is Dr. Joel Mengele. In fact, he was known as the Angel of Death. And some of his experiments included injecting children with chemicals or gasolines, or prisoners with deformities undergoing brutal surgeries, amputations, and female prisoners who were subjected to shock treatment and sterility. So he was perhaps one of the most notorious of the physicians. He was very infatuated by gypsies having green eyes, and he even tried to create experimentally green eyes among some of these research subjects. So anyway, so again, to reiterate that the scope of the experiments that were conducted during the World War was unprecedented in scope and was considered a disgrace to humanity. But even more disgraceful, in my opinion, was the Tuskegee syphilis study. This is a study that was conducted even before the World War II Nazi crimes. Tuskegee is one of the poorest counties in Oklahoma. And in 1930, there was a research that was conducted by the United States Public Health Service. Parang, kumbaga, yun ang pinaka-Department of Health na United States in the 1930s. And let me summarize to you what the Tuskegee syphilis study was about. The objective of this study was to observe the natural history of untreated syphilis, and more than 400 Black men with syphilis participated, and about 200 men without syphilis served as controls. And these men were, for the most part, illiterate sharecroppers from one of the poorest counties in Alabama. And they were never told of what disease they were suffering from or its seriousness. In fact, they were told that they were being treated for bad blood. I think that's how they understood that illness at that time. So their doctors really had no intention of curing them at all. The data from the study was to be collected from autopsies. And so literally, these research participants were allowed to deteriorate because of their illness. And they were actually allowed to die so that they could do data collection through the autopsies of these So they were left to degenerate under the ravages of tertiary syphilis, which can include, of course, tumors, heart disease, paralysis, blindness, insanity, and death. No? So, of course, there were a lot of ethical issues. There was no informed consent. The participants were deceived. They were told that the procedures were done in the interest of research, like the spinal taps were special free treatments, but they were actually to document that they had active syphilis. And the interests of the participants were never really addressed. What makes this study really sad is that in 1940, that's 10 years from the onset of the study, penicillin was already found to be effective in the treatment of syphilis, and the study was allowed to continue, and the men were neither informed nor treated with antibiotic. At that time, penicillin was the standard of care. Actually, until now, no, penicillin remains to be the standard of care. And so those are just two examples of the poor record of physicians with regards doing research to advance science without regard for the welfare of the research participant. Now, the good things that came about this was the development of international codes, which is, there are actually more, but I don't have enough time to enumerate a lot of the other atrocities that were committed by the medical community. But those two I chose because they led to the development of international ethics codes. The result of the Nazi medical war crime, of course, we all remember the Nuremberg trial that was in Germany in December 1946. 23 physicians and administrators were indicted before the War Crimes Tribunal at Nuremberg for their participation in the experiments. 16 of the 23 physicians were found guilty and imprisoned, and 7 were sentenced to death, at that time by hanging. And this is a picture from the military tribunals. So this is the Nuremberg trial. But one of the outcomes of the Nuremberg trial was a set of directives that were established, that tried to establish the principles that must be observed in order to satisfy the moral, ethical, and legal concepts in the conduct of human subject research. And this became known as the Nuremberg Code. So this code has been the model for many professional and government codes since the 1950s. And it became the first international standard for the conduct of research. And this was a set of 10 guidelines. We don't need to go over each of these guidelines, but among the important guidelines was the need for voluntary consent, that all necessary physical and mental suffering and injury should be avoided. There has to be social value. The experiment must yield generalizable knowledge. The degree of risk to the subject should never exceed the humanitarian importance of the problem, and so forth and so on. Pero natapos na yung Nuremberg trials, so medyo static yung Nuremberg Code. But this eventually led to the Declaration of Helsinki, which is a living declaration that has to be updated every so often. So that's the Nuremberg Code and the Declaration of Helsinki. With regards naman to the Tuskegee syphilis study, the first accounts of this study appeared in the national press in 1972. Imagine, this started in 1930. 42 years later, tama ba? 42 years later, in 1972, na-leak ng press that there was such a study. And the resulting public outrage led to the appointment of an ad hoc advisory panel by the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. Yun na ang naging Department of Health na United States in the 1970s. And it led to the appointment of an ad hoc panel to develop recommendations to ensure that such experiments would never again be conducted. And that also led to the congressional investigation. And the reason why in the 1970s nagkaroon ng Fogarty grant because that was part of the recommendation of the, they call it the Belmont Report, that to avoid the atrocities from being committed in the whole world, then the United States would fund training in the countries. And the Philippines was a recipient of such a fund through the Fogarty grant in the 1970s or 1980s yata. This also led to the apology of President Clinton in 1997. And if there's one thing that we should be proud of is that President Clinton apologized on behalf of the United States. And he said that the United States government did something that was deeply wrong, profoundly morally wrong. It was an outrage to our commitment to integrity and equality for all the citizens and clearly racist. So this is the picture of President Clinton with one of the, I think, 3 remaining survivors. One of the 8 remaining survivors of the Tuskegee syphilis study when he publicly apologized in 1997. So ilang years yan after the onset of the study, which was in 1930. Now, the good thing that came from this was that this eventually led to the Office of Human Research Protection. This was a national part of the National Research Act in 1974, and it led to the Human Health Services Policy for Protection of Human Research Subjects and the National Commission for the Protection of Human Subjects of Biomedical and Behavioral Research, the output of which was known as the Belmont Report. The Belmont Report included guidelines on the basic ethical principles and their applications. So this was published in 1979. Ethical Principles and Guidelines for the Protection of Human Subjects, pero mas kilala siyang Belmont Report. And it was called Belmont Report because the meetings was held in the Belmont Hotel in Washington, D.C. So this contains the ethical principles upon which the federal regulations for the protection of human research participants are based. And nandito yung walang kamatayang 3 ethical principle na laging kinokot. These are respect for persons' autonomy, beneficence, and justice. So yun ang dyan nanggaling yung 3 ethical principles: respect for persons, autonomy, beneficence, and justice, which I will not talk about in detail in the interest of time. So this is how the international, the historical landmarks have led to the development of international codes. And in this next part, I'll talk about how this eventually led to the development of national codes. No? So how did it happen in the Philippines? But I don't have to go through this in detail anymore. You heard it actually in the opening video, how FREB was created. And in UP Manila, the development of ethics principles was demand-driven. So in the Philippines, the development of ethics was demand-driven, unlike in the United States. It developed because of misconduct, because of atrocities that were committed. And they developed the code so that it will never happen again. So in the Philippines, the development of the codes was through the Philippine, the DOST, the Philippine Research, which is under the governance of the Department of Science and Technology, through the Philippine Council for Health Research and Development, which was now headed by Dr. Jaime Montoya, who also appeared in the video. And under the Philippine National Health Research System, the FREB, or the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board, was created. Actually, even before the PNHRS law was passed, FREB was already created. So the creation of FREB preceded the PNHRS law, because it was created in 2006. And in 2011, they came up with the first guidelines for health research. But it was not until 2013 that the Philippine National Health Research System law was passed. So what's this PNHRS law? This is RA 10532, which created a memorandum of understanding among the DOST, DOH, CHED, and UP Manila, no? The UP Manila being the health science campus. This was in 2003 and 2007. And it also created the mandate of the Philippine Council for Health Research Development to become the national governing body. And it composed of the Governing Council, Steering Committee, and the Technical Working Committee. And under the PCHRD was the creation of the, well, it was created already at the time, but the incorporation of the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board. So if you look at the Philippine National Health Research System, the UP Manila Chancellor sits in the PNHRS Governing Council. Okay. And under the PCHR, the Executive Director, who chairs the steering committee, is the ethics, no? The Philippine Health Research Ethics Board. Okay, so I think that's all you need to know about this very busy organizational chart, which is actually hard to understand. Now, under the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board was the creation of the National Ethics Guidelines. I was not aware about the 2011, but the I was aware of the 2011 guidelines, that's the blue one. Then this is the 2017, and our latest one is the 2022. So, let's just call it National Ethical Guidelines. Kasi yung 2017, naging nickname niya, naging NEGR. Kasi National Ethical Guidelines for Health and Health-Related Research. So, NEGR siya. Pero, yung 2022 is the National Guidelines for the search involving human participants. So, naging NEGRIP siya. So, pag refer niyo ang guideline to NEGR, alam namin na luma yan kasi 2017. Pag sinabi niyo NEGRIP, 2022 yan. Pero para generic, National Ethical Guidelines na lang or National Ethics Guidelines. Okay, so now let's go to the UP Manila REB story. Okay. Actually, the UPM REB preceded the development of National Ethics Guidelines. Pero let me put that into context. No? The University of the Philippines, Manila, is one of course, you know this, is one of the 8 constituent units of the UP system. But the UP Manila is known as the health science campus of the UP system. So it offers, it's a public and secular institution of higher learning which offers academic and training programs as well as extension services. So UP Manila REB is a committee under the University of the Philippines, Manila, and being a research university and being the health science campus of the whole UP system, it was important for the institution to create the mechanism that would ensure the protection of human research participants. And that's the UP Manila REB. Pero that's not how it actually started. So let's go over the whole story. So this is the timeline for the establishment of UP Manila REB. And in 1979, ano ba ako nung 1979? Residente ako nun. The Committee on Research, Implementation and Development, or CRID, was created by the UP College of Medicine. This was in response to the need for ethics review for researches that were sponsored by the China Medical Board. At that time, konti pa lang yan, siguro mga 1 a year or 2 a year. But the China Medical Board required that prior to the conduct of this research in UP Manila, it required an ethics committee. And at the time, there was no such thing as accreditation. and ethics committees were left to do what they were supposed to do, which was to do an ethics review. And to illustrate how crude the ethics review was at that time, let me quote from an article that was published online, which is entitled Reflections on Ethics Review by Dr. Ricardo Manalastas, who's now a member of the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board. No? So he appeared in the opening video. Si Butch Manalastas, a good friend of mine. No? He said, "My recall of the earliest encounter I had with research ethics was when, as a newly appointed faculty member of the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology of the UP College of Medicine of the University of the Philippines and concurrent attending at the Philippine General Hospital, I rushed to the office of the Ethics Research Committee, known as the Committee of Research Implementation and Development, at that time CRED, no? Pero later naging RIDO, before the end of office hours one Friday. In my hand was a letter addressed to then chairman requesting approval of a study I was about to conduct. Attached to the letter was a one-page synopsis of the research protocol. I was fortunate enough to catch him on his way out of the office and doubly lucky that he agreed to quickly browse through the papers I pushed in front of him. He then instructed the office secretary to stamp the letter approved and proceeded to affix his signature, and this was the early 1990s. So this is what I mean by halos walang review, walang meeting na kinonduct, no? There were no SOPs, and it was largely dependent on the decision of the chair. So how time flies and how the ethics climate has changed over the years. So let me continue with the establishment of the UP REB. So that was 1979. 24 years later, in 2003, the CRED, which was the Committee on Research Implementation and Development, was reorganized into the Research Implementation and Development Office of RIDO, or RIDO. So their function was not only to provide ethics review, but also grant management and technical review. So hindi lang ethics review. In the same year, the NIH ERC was established. That was 2003. The RIDO was tasked to provide ethics approval for the researches done under the College of Medicine. But the NIH ERC was tasked to review the researches created under the National Institutes of Health. I already had institutional memory of such events because I became a member of the NIH ERC in 2004. So in 2004, I entered into my ethics journey. Tagal na, no? Next year, it's 20 years already. And I became the chair of the NIH ERC in 2005. Okay. In 2006, not to be outdone, the hospital naman, Philippine General Hospital, created the Expanded Hospital Research Office, or the ERO, in PGH. So there were 3 ethics committees in UP Manila at that time. The CRED, which was now RIDO, the Research Implementation and Development Office, or RIDO, the NIH ERC, and the PGH ERO, the Expanded Hospital Research Office. And kanya-kanya ang kanyang jurisdiction. The RIDO was for studies that came from the UP College of Medicine. The NIH Ethics Review Committee was in charge of reviewing the studies that came from the National Institutes of Health. And the ERO was in charge of the studies that were created in the hospital. So iba-iba, kanya-kanyang teritoryo. Na? Okay. In 2007, the NIH ERC underwent FERCAP SIDCAR recognition. At the time, wala pang FREB recognition. And we were the first ethics committee that underwent and got ethics recognition, international ethics recognition in the Philippines. Eventually, there was a time when all 3 ethics committees of UP Manila became FERCAP accredited. All three. And there were only 4 ethics committees in the Philippines that were accredited at that time, 3 of which were from UP Manila. And the 4th was the Research Institute for Tropical Medicine. Now, in 2010, under Chancellor Ramon Arcadio, all 3 ethics committees in UP Manila were merged into one ethics committee, which was called the UP Manila Research Ethics Board. That was 2010, 13 years ago. In that year, the UPM REB received its first recognition by FERCAP and FREB accreditation. Yung FREB accreditation was parang nag-grandfather na kami because we were already FERCAP accredited. At the time, FREB accreditation was started in 2010. In the creation of in 2007 yata. Hindi. Anyway, at that time, I can't remember the timeline. Yeah, in 2010, FREB accreditation was started in the country. So all those that were FERCAP accredited was automatically FREB recognized, FREB accredited already. Yan, sa 2010 yan. In 2012, we were registered with the Office for Human Research Protection and the Federal-wide Assurance with a FWA license or number which was valid until 2017. In 2013, the UP Manila REB, the merged one, underwent recognition by FERCAP at FREB. So 2013. 2017, we underwent our third FERCAP SIDCA renewal of recognition and FREB. And our latest renewal was in 2022. During the fourth FERCAP SIDCA renewal of recognition, that was just last November in Daegu, South Korea. Okay. So the UP Manila REB is under the oversight of the Office of the Vice Chancellor for Research. This is a picture of Dr. Edward Wang, our Vice Chancellor for Research, no? And he is directly responsible for research policy implementation in the university. And he does this through the UP Manila REB. He supervises, his office supervises and coordinates research-related units and monitors and coordinates the research activities. The University of the Philippines Manila Research Ethics Board, or the UPM REB, is under the supervision of the Office of the Vice Chancellor for Research through the Office of the Director for Research Management and Translation, or the DRMT, which is now chaired by Dr. Manalastas. So full circle. So REB was created in September 27, 2010 to integrate all existing research ethics committees of UP Manila under a single board with component review panels guided by a unified set of standard operating procedures. This was approved by the Board of Regents during its 1266th meeting in 2011. Okay. And UP Manila REB is tasked to implement one of the oversight policies of UP Manila by providing ethics review for all researches done in UP Manila and often extending to other UP campuses as necessary. But I, of course, welcome that UP Diliman will have its own. And the UP Manila REB is responsible for ethics approval of all researches of all the UP Manila constituency. So parang at first there were 3 separate ethics committees, one only for the College of Medicine, one for UPNIH, and one for the PGH. Pero under UP Manila REB, all the units, all the colleges are under UP Manila REB. So parang 1 + 1 + 1 is not equal to 3. Lumawak yung scope po namin. So lahat ng researches ng lahat ng estudyante at lahat ng faculty at reps ng buong UP Manila ay rene-review na ngayon ng isa na lang ethics committee, and that's the UP Manila REB. No? So our task is to implement the oversight policy, and we're guided, of course, by the administrative orders that were issued by the Chancellor, as well as the standard operating procedures that we have created. And these are living documents because we have a mechanism on how to renew this regularly. So ethics, we implement the oversight policy of UP Manila by doing ethics review of research conducted by regular faculty members, students, clinical faculty members, residents, fellows, and other UP Manila researches, and limited off-site research if the UP faculty is a researcher or the principal investigator. And the ethical oversight aims to protect the human participants in research and to contribute to the integrity of scientific data. We also provide certification for studies to have undergone ethics review prior to publication, studies that are exempt from ethics review prior to publication, such as meta-analysis, case reports, and studies to have undergone ethics review prior to being granted publication awards. And this is our organizational structure. So if you look at our organizational chart, of course, the Vice Chancellor for Research is under the Chancellor. Under the Vice Chancellor is the Director for Research Management and Translation. And under him directly, I'm the Chair of the UP Manila Research Ethics Board. And I'd like to emphasize that although I am administratively under the Vice Chancellor for Research, the UP Manila Research Ethics Board is an independent ethics committee. So we know that our Chancellor and our Vice Chancellors are all researchers, but they cannot influence, of course, the decisions of the UP Manila Research Ethics Board. Okay. Under me is the coordinator, and this is Professor Edlin Jimenez. So I'm sure kilala nyo na siya, no? Who doesn't know Edlin when it comes to ethics? No? Now, under Edlin is an assistant coordinator, the technical secretarial staff, and the administrative secretariat staff. But under the chair, so it passes the back of this block, is the executive committee. The executive committee is composed of all the chairs of all the different panels, plus the member secretary. Under the executive committee is the protocol review management committee. This is a subcommittee of each panel to ensure that all the necessary prerequisites are complete prior to including a study in the agenda. And then also is the Serious Adverse Events Committee. And there are actually, it says here 5, but it's actually 7. Panel 1 and 2 are the general ethics panels. Panel 3 and 4 are for PGH, for the residents, fellows, and allied medical professions. And we have panels A, B, and C, 5A, B, and C, which are the undergraduate panels. So all in all, we have 7 review panels. Yeah. So the UPM REB component units is composed of the UPM REB chair, and we have a coordinator and assistant coordinator, and we have technical and administrative staff that services all the panels. Then under the chair, so under the technical and administrative staff is under the coordinator, but under the chair is the executive committee and the SAE and the protocol review management committee. Okay. And panels 1 and 2 are the general university panels. These are for our graduate students, faculty, and reps. Panels 3 and 4 are for PGH trainees and employees. Panel 5A is for the College of Pharmacy, College of Allied Medical Professions, College of Nursing, and College of Dentistry undergraduates. 5B is College of Public Health, and 5C is the College of Arts and Sciences. Okay. So each panel has its own panel chair and a member secretary. And of course, each panel should have both scientific or medical as well as non-scientific, non-medical members. and each panel should have a non-affiliated member. And for our regular panels, these are the number. No, we have in panel 1 we have 11 members, panel 2 10, panel 3 9 members, panel 4 10 members, and panel 5 kasi undergraduate, so we have 21 for panel A, 30 for panel B, and 18 for panel C. Okay. So just to give you an idea, okay, this is the panels, the 7 panels. So yung scope of each panel is here, and this is a collage, no, of that was created in 2019 of the members of the review panels and the serious adverse events committees. So yan yung arrangement ng panel. Sinubukan namin pagkasyahin lahat, pero syempre limited to those who submitted pictures. Curiously, mukhang COVID yung collage na to. But anyway. So aside from that, so this is our pool of reviewers. No? We have 109 regular members, and we have 37 alternate members. The 37 alternate members can serve as an alternate member for any of the panels. And then aside from that, because we know that not all the panels have all the expertise, we also have a pool of 25 independent consultants, and we have 7 members of the serious adverse event committee. So we have about 160 plus, almost 170 members. Each panel is supported by an assistant coordinator with overall staff management functions and reports to the coordinator. Each panel is supported also by a designated panel staff, pero nag-share naman. No? There are 4 panel staff for 7 panels. There are multi-panel staff. So there are 2 staff members who serves all the 7 panels for screening of all incoming submissions, document filing, and responding to general queries. And then we have administrative staff for processing of funds, appointment, training requests, budget approval. And so our total staff complement is 9. No? But we only have 1 plantilla item, 1 regular university item, and 8 are job order status. So yan ang isa sa wish list ko, pero later na yan. So the following policy documents and standard operating procedures are included among our references when we do our reviews. So we make use of the international and national guidelines. So the Declaration of Helsinki. So these are readily available, no, during panel meetings. We have the ICH Harmonized Tripartite Guideline for good clinical practice, but this is for clinical trials, so it might not be applicable to the UP Diliman Research Ethics Board. We have the CIOMS, Council for International Organizations of Medical Sciences 2016 guidelines. We have the WHO Standards and Operations Guidelines for Ethics Review of Health-Related Research with Human Participants. We have the National Ethical Guidelines, the 2022 version. And we have the FREB, Requirements for Registration and Accreditation of Research Ethics Review Committees, 2022. Aside from this, we also make use of applicable Republic Acts, like, for example, the Data Privacy Act, and of course, agency-issued regulations, such agencies include the Department of Science and Technology, DOH, CHED, and others. So we have very detailed SOPs with 5 chapters. The first is for structure and composition, initial review, post-approval review, documentation, and writing SOPs. We have guidelines, the UP Manila REB, General Policies and Guidelines on reporting of serious adverse events. And we have UP Manila Administrative Orders that guide us, like the establishment, the AO that established the UPM REB, of course, our member appointments, and during the time of COVID, our operations during the time of COVID. We are a Philippine Health Research Ethics Board Level 3 accredited Ethics Committee, granted March 2022, but will expire in 2026 by the time retired na ako. And we have been granted our fourth FERCAP recognition last November 30, 2022. And we also have current U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Office of Human Research Protection registration, the IORG, which will expire, which expired this year. I think we had renewed this already. And the Federal Wide Assurance Number, we have number 18728, which expires in 2024. So our mandate is to do protocol review. And I'm sure you already know what goes into the protocol review using the existing guidelines and regulations. We also have a portal for the registration, submission, and review of protocols. So this is called IREB. It's a web-based system hosted and developed. Actually, it's still currently being developed by the UP Manila Information Management System. It's an electronic system of application and reports. So we have, I think, 5 modules. We have the principal investigator module that allows the investigators to input and submit their full protocols and related documents such as the informed consent, the data collection forms, etc. Then we have a secretariat module that is often alerted when there is a new protocol that has been included. The secretariat is in charge of seeing to it that the submission is complete. If it's not complete, it will go back to the principal investigator. But once it's complete, it will be referred to the coordinator who has her module. There's a coordinator's module, and the coordinator naman is tasked to assign the submissions to particular researchers. Then we have the reviewers module. So once it's assigned, the reviewer is alerted through a system-generated email that there is a paper waiting for his review, and then the reviewer can do his review online and submits it pagtapos na yung review. And then again, the secretariat is alerted that there has been a completed review in the system. Okay. And then once the review is completed, then if it's a full board protocol, then it can be included as part of the agenda for the next full board meeting. Kung expedited naman, then titignan na lang yung reviews ng iba't ibang mga reviewer, at pag lahat na approved, then it's usually approved at the reviewer's level pag expedited. Kung exempted, it's usually exempted at the screener's level, pero syempre kailangan i-validate yung exemption. To date, the IREB has only the initial review models, and the post-approval processing is being developed, and we expect that by the end of the second semester of this academic year, our IREB will be complete. And I am sure that once the IREB is functional and perfected, it can be shared with the UP Diliman Research Ethics Board. Now, aside from the IREB, we have our website, and the tabs of the website include our SOPs. So we have downloadable forms. We have also frequently asked questions. The website, a researcher can look at the third tab, this one, to see the status of the submission, when the decision letter is expected. Of course, we have our contact information, cut-offs and meetings. So sinasabi dito, if you want to be included in the October meeting, then your study should have been submitted by the end of September, and so forth and so on. And the submission process is all part of the website. Just to give you an idea of the volume of what we review, you will notice that even during the time of COVID, ang taas ng aming review. In fact, it became higher during the time of COVID. That was our all-time high, where we had 830 initial submissions. It went down 2021 and went down further in 2022, pero mataas pa rin compared to 2019. So all in all, for the last 4 years, this is not including 2023, we had a total of 2,678 initial reviews, 2,053 resubmissions, 195 clarificatory interviews, 886 continuing reviews, 1,191 amendments, 729 protocol deviations or non-compliance reports, 1,300 final reports, 70 early study termination reports, 794 notifications, queries, and complaints, 801 serious adverse event reports, for a total workload of 10,708 documents being processed in the last 4 years. And this is the 2023, for the first 6 months. We regularly do this, no? This is monitoring our performance, and we wanted to see what our turnaround time is for the first half of this year. So out of 84 exempted protocols, the number of days from the initial submission to panel action is 4.5 days. Out of 281 expedited protocols, about 27 days. For full board, 31 full board studies, about 47, 48 days. SJ-REB, because we participate in the Single Joint Research Ethics Board, there were 25 protocols. This is medyo fast, 21 days, 3 weeks. So overall, about 24 days is our median turnaround time. Aside from this, we network and collaborate with other stakeholders, both within UP Manila, like PGH, CAMP, College of Nursing, College of Pharmacy, Public Health, and CAS. Edlin and I are regularly invited to speak to students about the UP Manila REB operations and submission system. Then we also provide or participate in ethics network support, training, researches, and conferences with the following: Philippine Health Research Ethics Network, the Metro Manila Health Research and Development Consortium, DOH Single Joint Research Ethics Board, PGH Expanded Hospital Research Office, UP Manila NIH GCP and Research Ethics Training, Philippine Health Research Ethics Board. We volunteer as accreditors, and Forum for Ethics Review Committees in the Asia and Pacific, or FERCAP, as a accreditor. So I'm now going to the challenges now. Actually, the biggest challenge that you might experience, or which we certainly experience, but you might not experience now, is the recruitment of committed members and reviewers. I have a wish list, no, that the excuse of many of the reviewers is that, you know, they have full-time jobs or they have other things to do. And my wish list is to professionalize the ethics review. At the moment, all of the members of the Research Ethics Board consider ourselves as volunteers. And I feel that if we can professionalize the ethics review, either if we pay the reviewers higher or quite a substantive amount, or perhaps include their UP Manila REB productivity as among some of the items that can be used for faculty merit promotion, we will be able to demand more time from the reviewers to provide a timely and high quality review. But the number one, you've seen our turnaround times, no? That can still be improved, in my opinion, if the reviewers stick to the timelines that are in our SOPs. But we cannot blame them naman if they cannot. The second is administrative support. This was an early problem. Early on, we didn't have the room, we didn't have the secretariat, we didn't have the filing cabinets. And it was actually very helpful to have ourselves accredited, because all of these things were findings of the accreditation. So we had something to give back to the administration and say, the FREB findings are the following, and one is lack of administrative support. So napilitan sila magbigay ng room, ng staff, ng computers, etc., etc. So I don't think you will have that problem seeing the how big this launch is, and knowing how much support the UP Diliman administration is giving the UP Diliman Research Ethics Board, perhaps you won't have this problem. The third challenge is keeping competent staff. Whenever we have new staff, they have to be trained in health research ethics. We have to train them about ethics principles, privacy and confidentiality, the system, the IREB system, the website, screening, etc., real-time minute taking, and very often, when they're already well-trained, pwede silang mapirate eh. I particularly know of very competent staff who was actually pirated by a pharmaceutical company to run their research system, their system. Of course, we could not prevent her from leaving because that's an advancement. We're also very proud that she qualified, and she's already based in Australia and is probably earning more than I am earning. Early on, we had difficulty getting the buy-in from the faculty and students. So this was really frustrating. We encourage ethics, and we encourage the same ethical rigor that should go into the students' researches as well as the faculty researches. And yet, early on, it was the faculty that was telling the student, wag mo nang isubmit yan for ethics kasi baka hindi ka makagraduate, no? And again, we should never sacrifice the ethics review for the scientific rigor or for the academic rigor. So anyway, lately, the whole of UP Manila has already been incorporated. You will notice that the last two undergraduate panels are the College of Public Health and the College of Arts and Sciences. They were our last two holdouts. Pero now, everyone is included in the health research ethics system. Of course, we need to train researchers on ethics. Our turnaround time when we had just started, especially for the undergraduates, could reach 1 year. And we realized that the reason why it took so long was they did not appreciate or were not well versed on ethical principles. Not even the language. So when we say, please address the vulnerability of your research participant, they didn't know what we meant. But little by little, we adapted, and that's also the reason why we're involved in lectures for the undergraduate students. And we practically have a helpline. So if anyone needs information or tips on how to do what to do for their ethics review, then we can give them the advice. Next is, of course, keeping up with the load. You've seen our load that we reached 10,000 documents for 4 years. And continually, we'll have to reassess whether our administrative complement will still be commensurate to the number of protocols that we review. And the last is actually the electronic submission and review system, because it still needs to be improved. So that's it, no? I believe that there still is room for improvement of the UP Manila REB. My wish list really is to professionalize the ethics review. And I think you're off on the right track. And before I end, I'd like to say that all our efforts naman didn't go into waste. In 2019, the UP Manila Research Ethics Board was awarded by the FERCAP as the best ethics committee in the Asia Pacific region. And in 2020, 2021, 2022, that award was not given. So I guess we're still the reigning best ethics committee in the Asia Pacific region. So thank you very much for your attention, and congratulations again for the establishment of the UP Diliman Research Ethics Board. You have our full support.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
for the
much.
support.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Montaring, for that very informative discussion. We aspire to impart the experiences and knowledge of UPM REB on the establishment of our own Research Ethics Board here in the UP Diliman. We look forward also to continue to work alongside with the UPM REB as one of the best research ethics committee in the Asian Pacific region. Thank you, Dr. Montaring.
You're very welcome. And we will, of course, we will provide the support that you need and the training that you need. And I think you will not have to go through what we went through. I think our experience will already immediately improve your operations.
All right. At this juncture, we will now proceed with our open forum. I would like to request the presence of Dr. Bios and Dr. Mantaring to kindly address the questions raised during the presentation. Any one of you po may answer and add inputs. To our Zoom participants, you may type in your questions in the Q&A feature. And to our Facebook Live participants, comment down your questions to be acknowledged. Okay po. So for our first question, do the same ethics guidelines apply to both student and faculty?
Well, the answer is yes. Yeah. We have to apply the same ethical rigor to both students and faculty. So if we put in so much effort to review faculty research, we put in the same effort to review students' researches.
All right. Dr. Vies, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I agree, that it's the same rigor that we apply to students and faculty as a researcher. And in addition, also in our ethical guidelines, we have included the role of the research advisor. And this is particularly true for undergraduate and even for graduate students who are doing undergraduate. So the role of the advisor is also
I'd like to say, that in UP Manila, we encourage all undergraduate students to undertake researches which are minimal risk, so not high risk, so that hindi sila mahirapan. So that's a internal policy. But still, there are still some students who will insist on doing high risk protocols. So for cases such as that, we hold the mentor or the faculty as accountable. And on paper, they're listed as the principal investigators. Kasi their involvement in UP is permanent, permanent faculty. Yung student, pagka-graduate, wala na tayong hold sa kanya eh. And the ethical issues can exceed the duration of the study conduct. So we need somebody accountable. So yun. That's how it's offset. We encourage the students to do lower risk or minimal risk studies. So faculty naman, they can do whatever study they want, whether high risk or low risk.
All right. Thank you for answering that question. Because in UP Diliman, we're also expecting a lot of undergraduate studies. So we are encouraging them to undertake minimal risk. Proceeding with our next question. I want to collect data from public posts on Twitter, now X, Facebook, and other social networking sites. Do I still need to gain consent from the user?
Alam mo, mahirap sagutin yan unless we know what the nature of the research is, no? But generally, posts on Twitter, Facebook, and other social networking sites are considered public domain. No? I think if you post on social media, then it becomes public already. So if the nature of the study is just to describe, such, then of course they will not need to get consent from the user. But if the researcher will be looking at information which may encroach on the privacy and confidentiality of the data of the user, then of course you will have to get consent. Para siyang stalker, di ba? Kung titignan niya yun.
Also, sir, question lang po. It also depends on the settings of the user. If the user had put it as a setting is private and you are connected to the user as a private friend or a friend, then that has also data privacy issues.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And if I may add, the assessment is actually protocol specific, no? So while we can make general policies and guidelines regarding the review process, but the specific elements or contents, no, of each review is protocol specific, which the REC should really look into the details, whether a consent is needed or a consent can be waived. Very important.
Right. Thank you po. For next question. For our next question, can I start data collecting before getting approved by Ethics Review Board?
No.
No. It's a resounding no.
See, sabay pa kami ni Dr. Jojo. No, you need approval first of the ethics committee or board. So you need to present, no, the documents, protocol, your research tools, no. If you're doing survey, questionnaire, the questionnaire should also be evaluated.
Right. So to our participants, our guest speakers made it very clear that we need to be approved by the Ethics Research Board first before proceeding with the data collection. Okay. For the next question po, may I ask what is the main timeline for the ethical review? I am concerned with my thesis students who will have human participants. Students might not be able to work on their thesis, which is a requirement for their graduation, if the ethical review will take at least 1 month.
Nako. Ethics reviews can take anywhere. Well, our median is 47 days. This is for UP Manila REB, but it can take as short as 4 days if it's exempted, 12 days if it's expedited, 12 to 15 days if it's expedited. But for full board, so alin ba yung full board, no? Yung mga high-risk studies, clinical trials, studies that collect sensitive information, it can take anywhere from a month, parang the minimum yata is a month and a half, to 3 months. So if your thesis student is working on a high-risk protocol, I think you should allot about 3 months for that. No, I think that's safe already. So much so that in UP Manila, especially in the College of Nursing, they changed their timeline because it used to be that the seniors, those who are graduating, will do their researches in the last semester, the second semester of their senior year. And they knew, after realizing that ethics review is very important and takes precedence, then they changed it to the first semester of their senior year, just so that they can cover for ethics review. And aside from that, they trained their students in ethics so that the students are able to answer all of and address the ethical issues of their protocols.
May I add? When we do accreditation of academic institutions, no, in various regions, it's actually a common question regarding the duration of the review and also the pabalik-balik, submission, resubmission of protocols kasi hindi mas tayo reviewer, no? So I think it's very important really to include a module on research ethics in the curriculum. At this part of 7 hours for research ethics, and also at the same time take up with the students the process of ethics review in the institution, the requirements of the REC in the institution, so that the students will be better prepared when they develop their protocols. And then years later, when we go back to the institution, they tell us, ay ma'am, ang laki talaga nung nagawa nung in-incorporate namin sa curriculum yung research ethics. Kasi hindi namin alam nun kung kami ba ay magtuturo ng research o editors ng protocols o magre-review. No? So, malaki pong tulungan talaga yung training. And faculty even. I know sa UP Manila, part ng faculty development is a module.
Yes.
No, and some hours are actually spent on research ethics doon sa faculty development, so that when we have new recruits, even want to update information about UP Manila research, there's a module on research ethics for faculty development.
And if I may add, if a faculty member is involved in a clinical trial, there's a good clinical practice certificate, which should be updated, and this should be updated every 3 years. So if their GCP certificate is already old, then magiging pending yung results, pending submission of a new GCP certificate. For non-clinical trials, there's basic research ethics training or responsible conduct of research modules. So for students, that's what we require, or it's equivalent. They can take an equivalent. We have a training center for health research ethics and GCP that's actually headed by Professor Edlin Jimenez. So she already gives regular ethics training. Kung minsan, umabot na almost every month. But the ones regular for, and PGH also. PGH through the Expanded Hospital Research Office also provides ethics training for free to the PGH residents, fellows, and the students can attend this as well for free.
All right. Thank you for answering that question. It's very informative po. Again, to our Zoom participants, you may type in your questions in the Q&A feature. And to our Facebook Live participants, comment down your questions to be acknowledged. Let's proceed po with our next question. Are there guidelines on charges and fees for the review, as well as on the amount of honoraria for reviewers?
There is a memorandum that's issued by our chancellor. At the moment, I can't even remember, but it used to be, that for every review, no matter how complex, will only be paid 500 pesos. And attendance to a meeting, we are paid 1,000 pesos. So parang the cost of a review. And since there are 2 reviewers, then the cost of a review is actually 3,000 pesos. And that's important because for students, we don't charge the student, but we can charge it to a research fund of the college. And that's what we charge the college. The minimum we charge the college for the review of one of their students is 3,000 pesos. That's good for 2 reviewers who will review the protocol and attend the meeting. I think it has already been increased, but I'm not sure the exact amount. Ngayon, if the study is a government-funded, like PCHRD, then our charge is, I think, only 20,000 pesos. But if it's a pharmaceutical company, sa clinical trial, umabot ng 50,000 pesos ang charge namin. sa pharmaceutical company. So actually, if you think about it, the funded research is the one that parang that para kami Robin Hood, no? The funded research also funds the students' research kasi we can charge the pharmaceutical companies and the other research institutions higher so that we can provide the service for free to the students but charge it lang to a research fund of the college.
Thank you, Dr. Mantaring.
Sa UP Diliman Research Ethics Board, anong magiging mga fees nyo? As well as the honorarium for the reviewer.
Sir, inaaral pa namin po yung inyong fees. So we've got your
Kasi
fees.
kung mas
That has to be approved by the BOR at saka ng campus. So we're discussing those with the administration.
Yes, on side note then, if there's anyone who may be interested to become part of the panel member of the UP Diliman Research Ethics Board, you may email us and just look for our contact information. You may send your inquiry on our email. Okay.
Kasi kung mas mataas ang ibabayad niyo, dyan na lang ako lilipat.
Mag-volunteer din.
Ay, sir, magdadagdag kami. I will petition, dagdagan natin si sir.
Joke lang yan.
It will be an honor po, sir, to have you join us. Okay, proceeding with our next question. Is there a list of type of activities under each type of review so that the proponent of the study can be guided?
What do you mean a list of type of activities? What we have, I think that can help the proponent is we make our checklists available online. So if the proponent knows ano ang hinahanap ng reviewer sa paper niya, then kaya na niyang i-address, di ba? I-check, check, I have this. Kunyari, we look at social value, we look at whether the objectives are well phrased. We look at the inclusion and exclusion and the withdrawal criteria. We looked at the informed consent process. All of that, no? We make sure that for the informed consent, it's written in a language that is understandable. So all of that is in our protocol assessment form as well as our informed consent assessment form. So the students, as well as any other researcher, usually they download these forms and they use this as guidelines or checklists to ensure that their submission has all of what we're looking for. Yeah.
If I may add also, in the 2022 national guidelines, we have included their templates.
Okay.
Templates for protocol development, and we included there the elements of the protocol that needs to be there. No? So, nakalagay doon data, ethical considerations, research dissemination plan, no? Data management, security plan, so things like that. So there are also templates on informed consent. There's a template of checklists for biomedical research and for social science research. So they're just templates, right? Which our institute can adopt. But of course, you're free to add or and edit, those templates that really suit the need of the specific REC.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Mantaring, Dr. Vios. Proceeding with our next question. Medyo mahaba po ito. Good morning, Dr. Vios. Thank you so much for the very informative lecture. UPD has many different academic or research units and engage in varied research projects. Do you have any advice as to how the UP Diliman Research Ethics Board can address the problem of encroachment? Encroachment is a phenomenon wherein review boards apply guidelines and principles that were originally intended for research in the biomedical sciences.
Right.
To other disciplines which may not be biomedical in nature despite the differences in context? Thank you.
Right. Thank you. It's actually a very common question. Because, for example, if you take a look at the PNHRS, it's specifically for health, no, as stated in the law. But now, we have included, for example, in our guidelines, in fact, changed the title of the guidelines into National Ethical Guidelines for Research Involving Human Participants. We remove health, no? And this is so because as also stated by Dr. Mantari, in the last several years, maybe 10 years, no, there's really a need for ethical review and clearance, no, prior to the implementation of research. And this includes all types of research, no? Whether biomedical, social science, economic, epidemiology. I think everybody's interested, no, about protection of the research participants and the credibility of the science of the data. Okay. The principles in the national guidelines are actually principles that can be applied to any type of research, whether you're doing social or economic. We should be concerned with the ethical principles as has been described. Do no harm, ensure the benefits of the participants, the beneficence and non-maleficence. Ensure that the person is respected, so that's getting the informed consent, and ensure that there is equitable distribution of burdens, of risks and benefits, and that participants and even researchers are accordingly given compensation, okay, not something or work that will produce undue inducement. Okay, so these are principles which are applicable to any type of research. All right. So we have included in the national guideline general principles and some guidelines on social research. I know the concern of the social scientists, no? Health kayo no? Tapos kami i-impose nyo yan dyan, no? So the truth is there's really a need to collaborate, with social scientists in developing a really very robust and guidelines for this particular type of research. But then if we think of what is health, it includes also the total well-being, social, mental, emotional well-being of individuals and communities, and not just the absence of disease. So kasama din doon yung like the social sciences. If we take a look at the research system in the Philippines, all right, we have councils under the DOST. So the DOST is really in charge of all this coordination of the scientific research, DOST. And DOST has actually three panels, or rather three councils. The PCHRD, Philippine Council for Health Research and Development. And then we have the PSURD, the Philippine Council for Industry and Energy Research and Development. And we have the PCAARRD, the Philippine Council for Agriculture, Aquatic and Natural Researches, Research and Development, Natural Resources, Research and Development. We don't have a council for economic and social science research. In UK, they have the council, the Health Research Council of UK. And they also have the Economic and Social Research Council. So the health research goes to this council, and economic, social research goes to the council. And if the research involves health and social health related research, Then they have a committee from each council, no, to review that research. No? All right, so we don't have that economic and social research, no? And Fred welcomes the input, no, of our social scientists in further developing our guidelines regarding this matter, this topic. But now, no, for now we have this the guidelines. Okay, and for other HEIs, no, under CHED, of course, UP is not under CHED. No, there is a memorandum, no, 2019 from CHED regarding improvement of postgraduate courses in the HEIs. And one of the articles there is on research, okay? And they have a item there on research ethics, okay? And stating that HEIs involved in conducting research, which is being encouraged by CHED, to have their protocols reviewed by REC and to use existing government national ethical guidelines, closing parentheses, DOST. So FREB, as formed, no, created by law by PNHRS, is that body for now. Thank you. I hope I clarified the matter.
Yes, Dr. Reyes, you made that very clear to answering that question as the first FREB director. Thank you po. Dr. Montaring, would you like to add something po? You're on mute po, Dr. Montaring.
Sorry. Yeah, I agree with everything that Sally said. No, whether the study is health research or not health research, there are always risks and benefits to doing studies. And you might think, ano bang risk of, kunyari, interviewing? Actually, there's a risk of breach of inadvertent breach of private information, and there's the very minimal, it's risk of bother. No? And yet, when you interview a person, there's that risk of bother, and yet, kuminsan, walang benefit. No? So, I think just by applying that, regardless of the type of research, I think it has made researchers more conscious that at the very least, they can be bothering their research respondent or research participant without providing them with benefits. So sana man lang, bigyan mo ng benefit. Kung wala namang benefit, like pwede naman silang bigyan ng educational materials. Kung yung iba nga, nagbibigay lang ng ballpen, mga ganyan, di ba? Gift certificates. So those are things that can balance or lead the research to have a favorable risk-benefit ratio. So yun, anyway, yun.
Thank you, Dr. Montaring. Okay, let's now proceed with our next question. So for the next question, good morning. Thank you for your informative presentations. This question is for Dr. Villas. Dr. Villas, if ever, would FREB allow for multiple research ethics boards from UP Diliman to gain separate accreditation?
FREB respects the policy of the institution. That's the starting point. If the policy of UP Diliman, the university in general, states that any unit or college may create ethics board, then what can we do? No, that's the policy of the institution, because we respect the institution, right? But we've seen actually some defects, no, when there are multiple or several RECs in a university. And we have concerns, for example, with one big university. They have a panel for the graduate school, they have a panel for the College of Medicine and hospital panel. No? And then they have different SOPs and standards, no, and procedures. No? And then, so yung ganon. And then the issue comes, no, what if, hindi pa naman po nangyayari ito sa Pilipinas, no? What if nagkaroon ng problema, no? At nagkaroon ng mga legal issues ang isang REB o ang isang REC? Who will answer? Will it be the college? Will the entire university be able to also be accountable as well? No? Hindi naman sila humihingi ng support kasi very independent sila. They can provide means to support their REC. So yun yung mga issue. So if you ask Fred, we prefer that if it's a big university, no, it's better to have one research ethics board, and then you have several panels, no? And ganun din po yung Lasal, no? Parang UP, ano din yan, one REB, and then they have several panels. So we hope we can work towards that direction, no? But if the university says, hindi, pwede kayo kahit anong college, we respect that, no? But we make suggestions, we make recommendations.
If I may add, no, we
Sure,
came
Doc.
from there, no? We came from there. I think it was clear in my presentation that when we started, we had 3, no, research ethics boards. They were all accredited. Pero kasi kung hindi harmonized, iba-iba yung SOP ng iba-ibang ethics board, we're setting ourselves up for forum shopping. What will stop a member of the faculty from going to research ethics board A instead of B instead of C? At the time that we were harmonized by the way, I forgot to acknowledge that the first chair of the UPM REB is Dr. Sally Villos. I just took over from her. I'm the second chair. But at the time that Dr. Arcadio, then Chancellor Arcadio, unified or compelled us to unify, we didn't see the logic behind that kasi we were very comfortable with our mandate na for us, National Institutes of Health lang. Madali actually yung trabaho nun kasi there's a cycle sa NIH. At the start of the year, there's a call for proposals. Sabay-sabay lahat ng study groups mag-submit ng proposals, kunyari. And then, let's say 20 proposals are submitted, then that will be shortlisted by the technical review group, and then may say out of 20, only 10 will be funded by NIH. So 10 lang ang i-review namin, and that worked so well for us, diba? Parang we'll only need to meet once a year. But then we saw the wisdom behind putting us into a unified ethics committee kasi iba-iba ang, for one, it will cover now all students, faculty, reps, independent researchers. Basta nasa loob ng UP Manila, i-cover yan, whether resident, fellow, nurse, etc. And the second is we're working under unified SOPs. So all these boards will follow the same SOP. So you're sure that the review of board A will be the same as the review of board B and board C, etc. O panel A, B, C, D, etc. No? Because we're under the same. So whenever there's a change in the SOP, it changes for all panels, for all the review panels. And but it also and it's better use of resources kasi ngayon ang submission is a single submission system. So we have the same secretariat for all the panels. And it ensures that panel 1 knows what panel 2 is doing, panel 2 knows what panel 3 is doing, etc., etc. The other advantage is that it's so easy to borrow different members from different panels. Kaya never kaming nawawala ng quorum. No? If we know that somebody is going to be absent, hihiram kami ng panel. Ang official designation niya ay panel 2. Hinihiram namin sa panel 1. And so forth and so on. So, mas efficient, mas unified, mas streamlined, may quality control, and it makes use of better resources. Sa akin, that's the short answer.
I remember, I was the Rido chief that time of the College of Medicine. No? Tinawag ako ni Chancellor. Sally, sabi niya, gusto ko isa lang. Ethics Board, ganyan, REB. So, i-form mo yan. So, nirelease ako ng College of Medicine. And, with the help of Edwin, she was very helpful. Sige, no? So, masama ang tingin sa akin, no, ng mga taga-UP Manila.
Actually, I was opposed to the,
I know.
for the record, I was opposed to the merger, to the merging.
Right, no? So,
And the reason why I was opposed was I thought that the NIH was doing very well. I napaka-biased ko. I felt that we had the best SOPs and the best operations. And the reason why we were merging was for us, the NIH and REC, to fix the rest, the other RECs. Pero that was...
yeah. So when I first presented in the University Council, sabi ko sa friend ko, I need to wear a bulletproof dress, no? Kasi I'm sure I will be bombarded by questions, bakit ganyan, no? And the first ones to join were the College of Nursing, Allied, no? And then the rest, naku talaga, pasaway, no? And the last to join actually was CAS. Ganoon. But, they're now on board and I think they're enjoying the leadership with Jojo.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Montaring and Dr. Vias, for answering that question. That gives us very, information on how we're going to do it in the UP Diliman. So we're going to proceed with our next question. Okay, so another question for Dr. Montaring. One of the criticisms against ethics review committees is the lack of oversight and being authoritarian. Research ethics committees are tasked to review research protocols to ensure that the conduct of the research will turn out to be ethical. But who makes sure that the conduct of ethics review is done ethically? Ethics review proceedings are done in confidence and decisions are deemed final and unappealable. There is no entity that is tasked to monitor the process of ethics review unless complaints are raised. Research ethics committees will continue to function unchecked. For this reason, ethics review boards or IRBs are seen as authoritarian. Given this, is there anything in the UP Manila Research Ethics Board that addresses this criticism? Thank you.
Okay. First of all, I don't think it's authoritarian. But of course, that's the point of view. I'm the chair of the UP Research Ethics Board. No? But it's not authoritarian. Our mandate is very clear. We want to protect the research participant. No? And to do that, we have to ensure that the researcher, the responsibility for protecting the research participant is actually not the sole responsibility of the Research Ethics Board. It's the researcher's responsibility. In fact, our last national ethical guidelines even puts responsibility to the institution. So the institution, the researcher, they are the ones primarily responsible for protecting the research participant. The Ethics Review Board is the one that's tasked to ensure that all the provisions are in place to protect the research participant even before the study is conducted. And then it's not true also that there is no monitoring because there are what we call continuing reviews. Now, every so often, the researcher should present to us or to submit to us a progress report. And from the point of view of the Research Ethics Committee, what do we look at in the progress report? We look at protocol deviations, protocol violations. We look at serious adverse events, no? For social science research, yung significant negative events na tinitingnan na rin namin yan. For academics kasi tinitingnan yan. And every time a progress report is submitted, we try to make a determination if the risk-benefit ratio is still favorable. Kasi kung mas maraming violation kaysa sa yung benefit, hindi na favorable yan, then it is our mandate or we have every right to ask that either ayusin nila yung protocol para maging favorable or isuspend yung recruitment hanggang maging favorable. So there is a monitoring function as well. And FREB also makes sure that not only is the initial review, kasi the protection of the research participant is not only during the initial review, it's also during the conduct of the study, even during pag natapos na, no? And that's by looking at the final report. Why do I say this? For example, we get a final report. And the final report says, in their survey of this community, it was found that 30% of the respondents had, soil-transmitted helminths. Sinasabi namin, pwede bang hanggang dyan lang yung study? It is your responsibility to see to it that this 30% helminthiasis is addressed. No? So tapos na nga yung study, pati yun. We look at the welfare of the research participant even after the study. So it's before, during, and even after the study, there's some form of monitoring. Yun, I don't know kung ano. I don't know if I answered your question. It's also not true that it's unappealable. Kasi
May SOP on appeals.
yes.
Dapat.
Appealable. For whatever reason, kunyari a study was sinabihan natin major modifications, you can appeal. Mas alam niyo yan kasi kaya yung scientist.
All right. Thank you for that, Dr. Mantaring, for clarification. Yes. Medyo marami pa po tayong questions, but due to the time constraint, we apologize for that. We may not be able to accommodate other questions. However, if you have further questions, you may raise it later during our cluster discussion. And hopefully, it will be addressed in that session. So let's go down with our, yes, Doc.
JP, maybe what we can do, how many questions do you still have? Marami pa?
More than 20 po, Doc. Still have more than 20
Wow.
questions.
All right. What we can do is we can give it to if Dr. Georgia and Dr. Sally would allow us. We'll give you the questions and maybe just put notes po if possible. Then we can relay it to the participants.
Sige, you can email it siguro or put it in a Google Drive and I will try my best. I will even ask Edlin to go through them to answer some of the questions.
Sige po. So let's do that for the participants. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yes po. Thank you, Dr. Mataring and Dr. Vias, for accommodating our questions. Kahit na madami po siya. So we'll collate all the questions. You may type it. You may still type it in the Q&A. Then ibibigay po natin ito kay Dr. Mataring and Dr. Vias para mas ma-answer nila. All right. So let's go down with our last question. Okay, ang last question po natin, does an application for the secondary use of human samples need to go through a full review even if the study application is covered by the informed consent? Also, for research that has already started implementation without a REB approved protocol, because the researchers thought a clearance was not needed or was advised to just not apply. What's a workaround for them?
Okay. For secondary use of human samples, there's such a thing as exempted protocols, no? But ang exemption ay binibigay lang, ang ethics committee lang ang pwedeng magbigay ng exemption. So I guess for that reason, all studies should really be reviewed. Even if it's review for exemption, it's still reviewed. It's not the principal investigator who will make the decision na ito exempted to. So yun, kahit secondary use of human samples. Pero ang masasabi ko lang without knowing the details, if it's a secondary use of human samples and it's been covered by an informed consent, that can be exempted. Kaya lang, sino mag-i-issue ng exemption kung hindi yung ethics committee. Ngayon, for a study that has already started implementation without a REB approved protocol, my advice to you is to stop your data collection and get approval first. Ngayon, depending on the nature of the study, kasi if it's a low-risk study, which was, let's just say, it's a low-risk study na survey lang. Ang workaround niyan is after it's been approved, i-re-consent mo yung mga na-recruit mo na. So you will be very transparent to them and say that we started the survey and we collected the data even before approval, and knowing this, would you still like to participate? And if they say yes, then okay, walang problema. Pero kasi if it's low risk, pwedeng ganyan, pero if it's high risk, hindi pwede. Hindi pwedeng ganyan. You will have to discard that data because it was obtained prior to an approval of the UP Manila REB. So walang workaround for a high-risk protocol.
Thank you for that, Dr. Matarig. Dr. Vios, would you like to add something?
I think it was clearly stated by Dr.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Mantaring, Dr. Vios. And that concludes our open forum. Thank you, everyone, for actively participating in our discussion. And sa mga questions pa po na mga hindi nasagot, ibibigay po natin to kay Dr. Mantaring, Dr. Vios for them to answer, and we'll furnish the answers to our participants. All right. Moving on, as a way to show our gratitude for the many inputs that we have gained today, allow us to award the certificates to our resource speakers. Allow me to read the contents of the certificates. The University of the Philippines Diliman Research Ethics Board awards this certificate of recognition to Dr. Maria Salome N. Vios and Dr. Jacinto Blas V. Mantaring III for exemplifying their expertise in the conduct of the Research Ethics Review and contributing invaluable knowledge in the establishing the University of the Philippines Diliman Research Ethics Board workshop conducted on September 20, 2023 via Zoom. Even this 20th day of September 2023 via Zoom Video Communications Incorporated. With that, I would like to request a photo opportunity po with Dr. Vios and then with Dr. Matari. I would like to call on Dr. D. Ongria and the UPD REB staff team to kindly open your cameras and join with the photo opportunity. All right, so smile. 3, 2, 1. Another frame. 3, 2, 1. Another frame po. 3, 2, 1. All right. So, okay na po. Thank you so much, Dr. Vios and Dr. Mantaring, for your invaluable imparts on this workshop. Again,
Congratulations, yes.
Yes po. Thank you po.
Congratulations, Cora.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. To our Facebook Live participants, we'll be giving the evaluation sheet in the comment section. Kindly fill out the evaluation sheet to receive your certificate of attendance for the morning part of our program. Again, for our Facebook Live participants po.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you po. All right. Thank you everyone for actively participating in our discussions. We may now have our lunch. To our Zoom participants, we will resume the afternoon part of the program at exactly 1 p.m. So please be back by that time. And to our Facebook Live participants, kindly complete the evaluation sheet provided in the comment section to receive your certificate of attendance for the morning part of the program. Thank you everyone for participating and see you at 1 p.m.